Yeah.
Really nice paper.
It is, I know.
Good evening. The time's now 6:30, and the date's Wednesday, December 10, 2020,
Yep, here we go.
2025. I think all our commissioners are here tonight, which is great. I'm going to open the meeting and take a roll call. I'm Kalina Vendetti, and I'm here, and Jim?
Yes.
And Dot McFarland?
Yes.
Megan Hickey?
Yes.
Mbazatiano?
Here.
Marilyn Kozadoi?
Here.
And Brian Payne.
Here.
Thank you. Please note we're doing a hybrid meeting with in-person and virtual attendance. So this means that if a member of the virtual public would like to make comments during a public hearing, please use the raised hand function on Zoom and you'll be assigned a speaking time. If you're listening in via telephone dial-in, press *9. That'll raise your hand, and then press *6 to unmute yourself. This meeting's being recorded by the local scene, and we're very grateful. And a record of this meeting will be posted on the local scene website as soon as they're able. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify me at this time. Great. First thing we're going to do is sign some documents. Will you brief us on what needs to be signed, Matt?
Yes, we have a bill for Plotter Inc., and we have a bill for MS4 support from Apex, and
Matt, your mic's not on.
Just turn that mic.
I'll turn my mic on. Plotter Inc., and we have MS4 support from Apex and Beals and Thomas. Last invoice from the Sampsons Brook Headwaters Restoration Project. And what was the last one we got that we added onto this?
The Callista Farm sign.
The signage for Callista Farm. We finally printed a sort of interpretive wayside sign for Callista Farm. It's not installed yet. When the ground thaws out a little bit.
All right, super. That it?
That's it.
All right. You can hand those down. We'll be moving on to action items. I'm going to reopen a public meeting to discuss the request for determination of applicability. We call that RDA for 28 Raybeth Road. This was submitted by Stenbeck and Taylor on behalf of property owner Frank Dirico. And this is for a proposed removal of hazard trees and treatment of invasive plants. The applicants requested a continuance to January 14th, 2026. Any comments about that? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's a motion to continue this matter to January 14th, seconded. I'm going to take a vote. Dot?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Kalina's a yes. Buzz?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thanks a million. Now I'm going to open a public hearing to discuss the request for determination of applicability, as I said, RDA, for 8 Smelt Pond Road, submitted by property owner Daniel Pepe for replacement of an existing concrete patio with permeable pavers within the Smelt Pond buffer zone. Let's hear a briefing, if you will, from the conservation agent.
Sure. So this came out of an enforcement item from a past meeting where there's an open order of conditions on the property. And when we did a site inspection, there was an area out back where there was removed pavement, and he was, I would say, probably halfway through installing pervious pavers. And so we just told him he needed a file for that. So this is that filing, submitted on time. We did a site visit on December 1st. He had put silt sock in place as requested, and the patio was essentially done. He did provide specs on the blocks being permeable. They were Teco block Mista pavers. Essentially, everything there seems pretty easy. You had an existing impervious surface within the buffer zone above the pond, and now you have a pervious solution for it, so that part's great. All I really spoke with the homeowner about while we were on site, and I can pull some pictures up to show you, is kind of the need for erosion control. The orders of conditions called for, the orders of conditions called for revegetation of some of the area downslope. So if you look at the screen, the house is behind me, you have the patio here, there's some rock work, and then there's the slope, and then down the bottom there was sort of like a beach area. A lot of this was slated to be revegetated with sort of a meadow planting and native plantings as part of the orders of conditions. There's no real timetable on that happening, but I spoke with the homeowner that right now there's nothing protecting this dirt from washing off. So you have to look at the blocks. But then in the back, there's kind of this area here where he's going to be doing some more vertical block to hold some of that back. But there's some area around here that still needs stabilization. This is looking directly down towards the pond at just kind of open dirt. So I wrote that, this is really easy to approve in terms of an RDA, the work that was proposed and done. But the commission should consider erosion sedimentation control measures between the project and Smelt Pond and on any other exposed areas, and determine specific deadlines for ESC installation, after which enforcement would be possible if these requirements were not followed. I recommended that he install woven mat with staples to hold the soil in place, as well as wood chips could be used in areas of the site that aren't as steep. Some of this is really steep, and then all you can really do is you could throw some wood chips down first and then put the woven mat over it, but there are other areas where wood chips would be fine just to get it stabilized through the winter. And then in the spring, if he's ready, I think he said in the spring to do some of the plantings down there, you could either remove the wood chips or plant in the wood chips, depending on what you're doing. So if the commission is fine with doing so, they could issue a -3 determination approving the project and may want to add special conditions specifying the necessary ESC measures and deadlines through the winter and until vegetation can be established. So if you wanted to craft specific language right now, we can do that. If you wanted me to prep that, in advance of you signing the permit at the next meeting, we could do that as well. But essentially, it's just going to be that specifics that you want to see and what you want to see for a deadline.
All right, we're going to open that to commissioner discussion in a second, but first I'd like to ask if there are any members of the public present online or in person who might have a concern or information that we should hear or take under consideration.
I don't see anything.
Any hands up?
Nope.
No, all right. So now let's move to commissioners for discussion. The applicant's asked to remain, no applicant.
There's an applicant in the crowd.
I didn't have anything to add.
Come on up, and then if we have any questions for you, just identify yourself for the record and.
Dan Pepe, the owner at 8 Smelt Pond.
Yeah, okay. And I wonder if the commissioners have any follow-up questions for the applicant? No.
I guess I could just ask, is there any change between December 1st and now?
No, I was in Florida last week, so
Okay.
that's why we ended up meeting on that Monday. But I can,
Okay.
yeah, we discussed putting some jute netting down with some staples, which is easy enough. I can do
Matt,
that
how
over
long
the
does
weekend.
taking the mats, how long would the mats take to put down or gather and put down?
10 minutes. It's it just unrolls with some staples. It's not a huge deal. I was in Florida last week, so it was.
What about chips? You think you can get wood chips on site?
Yeah. Would you rather those go down before you put those down and then the mat on top?
I think it makes the most sense. There's some parts that are so steep that you probably aren't going to be able to get any wood chips, but
Yeah.
a lot of it, if you get the wood chips down first and then staple over it with
It'll hold it.
the matting, that should really do
Yeah, that's easy
the
enough.
trick.
Now, will the staples hold if there's wood chips underneath it?
If you have long enough staples. I mean, I don't think you're talking about 4 inches of chips here. You only need probably a little bit just to assist, because it depends. If you're using, like you said, jute mat, the jute mat's pretty thin. There's not much to it. So if there's nothing else with the jute mat, then that may not hold much in place. If it's like, they make some pretty thick woven mats that can staple down, that will, on their own, provide stability. But I think you could probably do the same with a light layer of wood chips and jute mat.
Soil's frozen too.
It is.
Is it?
It's for now.
That is a consideration.
Anything else? All right. If there's no reason to continue the discussion or a need to continue it to allow for further information, can we move to a motion? All right, can I hear a motion? This would be to issue a -3 DOA approving the project, possibly with some conditions.
Make a motion to issue a -3 DOA with the special conditions as discussed.
I'll second it.
What do you want to set for a deadline?
30 days.
2 weeks?
2 weeks?
That
2
would be
weeks.
nice, but I'll take Buzz's 2 weeks.
Pretty small area.
It's Christmas.
All set?
Well, we have a motion, and we have a second.
Oh,
I'm going to
second.
take a
No,
vote.
we got a second. Yeah.
Dot?
We can actually do roll call. Or-
Oh, yeah, roll call.
Not roll call. all in
Well,
favor.
yeah.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Look at that.
Saves a lot of time. I do like calling names.
We'll be in touch in about,
Nobody came
well,
in for the last round.
typically it's 2 weeks to get the permit ready, but I won't have it ready until after January 14th. So essentially you have your verbal deadline that you have 2 weeks to get that stuff installed.
We ready to move on to Book
Yep.
2? I'll now open a public meeting to discuss the request for certificate of compliance, that's called RCOC, for 208 Brookdale Street. This was submitted by Herman A. Mayer IV in regards to orders of conditions issued to Tom Nava for construction of a barn within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone and the 200-foot riverfront area. We have a briefing from you on that?
Yeah. So this is a, not that it matters hugely from a legal perspective, but this is a situation where a COC is being filed after the property's sold. So anything I'm talking about in terms of any encroachment or enforcement-related stuff is not something that the current owner of the property did. I always like to point that out, just even though it, from a legal standpoint, it's their problem now, but I do like to point out that. So the filing was for the construction of a barn on the property. It appears to have mostly been built in compliance with the OOCs. There really weren't any special conditions other than a pre-work erosion control inspection by the conservation agent. There was an as-built plan submitted with the RCOC, and the barn was constructed outside of the 100-foot riverfront area as the commission had requested in 2015. We compared that as-built and our observations from a December 1st site visit with a 2015 site plan that was submitted to the building department, and we identified there was a gravel driveway that was installed around the barn that was not built the way it was approved in the original OOCs, or may not have been approved in that original OOCs. We also reviewed a plan for work that was proposed but never filed in 2020. We presented the commission with the subset of those 3 plans, sort of showing the difference between the 3 layouts. And, you know, it does appear that there was encroachment beyond what there was intended to be from that filing towards the wetlands, you know, including kind of what looks like an area where somebody was driving around through the woods, that sort of stuff. So that was problematic. And then a few other issues. There's a gravel path that leads from the barn through a wetland out to where there's a chicken coop right up against a wetland. Not depicted on the as-built. A lot of item storage, stuff like barrels, chairs, essentially, stuff, lawn clippings. There's just a lot of stuff that's been pushed out to the edges, up against the wetlands or in the wetlands. Couple of structures that are built within wetland buffer zones, within the 50-foot, including also a stamped concrete patio that looks relatively new. within the buffer zone without permits. We don't have any permits on record for any of this stuff. There were a few structures that were on the as-built plan, a few that were not. To the east of the stone patio, there was a shed with a fenced-in area behind it, with like a swing set nearby, either in or very close to the wetlands. There was also a fenced-in area within the wetlands at the front of the property, next to the driveway and the road, and it almost looks through aerials like somebody filled it at one point in, I don't know what recent history is, but some issues. So there are a few things that weren't on the plan. There's some stuff that may be concerning from a commission standpoint, some stuff that they may not be concerned with. There was extensive yard waste and plywood dumped along the wetland border and into the wetland. There's one point where you can tell they've just been dumping yard waste for years and years, just filling the wetland in where it was an old cranberry bog. So essentially, there's not much buffer zone on this property. They've sort of, over the years, encroached in a lot of ways. So I don't know whether the commission can really issue a COC on this, where the structure itself appears to have been built where it was supposed to be built, but then a lot more work has happened around it that encroached on areas that were supposed to be protected in that filing. And then there's a lot of other stuff going on there where the applicant should either provide proof of permitting for the other structures, or apply for permitting in retrospect for those, or just remove them and restore the areas. And remove all of the lawn clippings and all that stuff that's piled in the wetland, filling it up. I can pull up pictures if people haven't seen them, if you want to go through them on the screen and on Zoom.
Whatever you want to do.
Or what you want to do, Buzz.
Sure.
So, you know, I think my recommendation at this point would.
I looked at the pictures. It's obviously, there's a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, I think my recommendation at this point would be that we reach out to we can continue this for now, and I'll reach out to the property owner and tell them that they have this number of issues that should be dealt with, and they can deal with it by either putting a filing forward or by making everything the way it was supposed to look on what was legally permitted on the property.
Well, let's pretend for a minute they want to do that. Do they need a filing to then say how they're going to do it?
Depends.
Okay.
I guess.
You know, can they just go in the wetlands and clean up the clippings and we're okay with it?
I would say the way we would typically handle that stuff is if you're gonna bring a machine in to do it, you're gonna file. You know, if you're gonna go and I think in this case, there's enough material there. They're not bringing it out by hand. So, yeah.
So fun.
Probably need a filing either way. Good point.
That's what I mean, looking at the extensive amount of things that need to be dealt with, I think it's a filing to figure out how to deal with it. Unfortunately, I don't mean to spend someone else's money, and I'm surprised that they were able to close on the property with an open order of conditions.
Typically, there's money held in escrow for this purpose. I don't know how much. It's not often shared with me how much. Sometimes they'll ask for advice on that, and I can't really offer much help on that other than try to point out some of the things that have come up in the past. But I suspect anyways that typically if they're able to close, there's money being held for this purpose.
Maybe.
So, but if not, it is buyer beware, and that's the way the law.
Yeah, again, I
It's written.
hate to spend the person's money, but they're gonna spend some money there to clean that up, unfortunately.
That's a lot.
As far as a continuance date,
1 month?
I mean, it's a minimum month anyways. We're not meeting until January
Right.
14th,
Oh.
so.
Have a motion?
Okay.
So I'll make the motion to continue, and you're comfortable with January 14th, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, worst case, I mean, they can provide information before then that they're not gonna have anything ready. 'Cause-
The ground's gonna be frozen soon anyway, so.
Yeah.
Did you make that motion?
I did.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to continue to January 14th. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. It's 9:15. It's 10 of. Should we move to public hearings? It's time to move to Section A, public hearings. This is for 20 Marion Drive. It's also known as 1 Royson Drive. You'll find that on map 75, lot 31-1. This is a request for amendment to the order of conditions for the proposed installation of a sediment forebay and rain garden within the 200-foot riverfront area of Smiltbrook. And this is at 1 Royson Drive. You want to brief us on that, Matt?
Yeah, the applicant requested a continuance to January 14th on this
Okay.
request for amendment. We were waiting on an updated report from Horsley Witten Group, which we just got last night or this morning, and there's still some outstanding things to be dealt with there. There was, also a need for Horsley Witten Group to review the materials that the applicant provided last week, but I believe they were already out of money from the peer review. So they provided a proposal, I think around the time where we started this meeting. I haven't looked at it yet, so I'll be following up with the applicant on that probably tomorrow.
Do I hear that?
I'll make a motion to continue January 14th.
Second.
I've got a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this is, motion carries to continue this matter to January 14th. Thank you. Section B, this is 201 Elm Street. You'll find that on map 64, lot 9. This is a notice of intent. I open a hearing for this notice of intent for the proposed construction of an addition to a single-family house within the buffer zone to inland wetland resource areas, including a potential vernal pool at 201 Elm Street. Could you brief us on that, Matt?
Yeah, so this one was supposed to open up at the last meeting that we didn't hold the night before Thanksgiving. And that afternoon, we received a request for continuance from the applicant, because we had we pointed out some issues with the filing, both in that it needed some septic work that wasn't shown on the plan, and that there were issues with the condition of the property, similar to what we just discussed on Brookdale, that essentially the entire buffer zone of the property has been modified over the years to the point that it doesn't really exist anymore. And in some cases, pretty egregiously, and converted to lawn and all that stuff, put up structures like carport, stuff like that. So we haven't had anything since then from the applicant, so we informed them today that it would be continued. So I would say we should push this to January 15th, and could push it further if you wanted to, but
Did they respond to that? Or have we just not heard anything since December 10th request?
they requested continuance, and then that's about all I've heard. I know they've been in touch with the health department. They're, running through with them what they'll actually need to do for essentially the way it was proposed to the commission on the filing, it was a garage addition. And then at the site visit, it came out that it was a garage addition with a living space, with a bedroom and that sort of stuff. So then I said, well, that you may run into septic issues there. And then the Board of Health said that it would absolutely need, at a minimum, a new tank, and it probably would need, it may need more, so.
Just for my clarification, we have an NOI in front of us with incomplete paperwork that we should have just thrown away as soon as.
I mean,
We should dismiss this, because if they didn't disclose, and we have septic issues because what they requested on the NOI is just inaccurate, then we need to throw it out and let them come back when they're ready. So without prejudice, but I think that's the right move. You
Okay.
can't come and ask for something that doesn't meet the truth of the situation.
Yeah, you certainly could. We really didn't know until the site visit that it had that component to it, but yeah.
Would you like to organize that into a motion?
Make a motion to dismiss this note, what is it, reject, what's the right term?
Well, you already opened the hearing, I think
Yeah.
you gotta
You gotta close
close
it.
it.
Sorry. I make a motion to
And without
close
prejudice.
the hearing.
Okay,
And
we have
then,
a
and
second.
then
You're
you
right.
can make a vote to,
Deny, right?
yeah, deny. I think it's a
Without
deny.
prejudice.
Without, yeah.
We're gonna take a vote to close the hearing.
So
So
we
they can
have
come back.
a motion to close the hearing. We have a second?
One second. So close,
Yep,
and then a vote.
Yes,
right. Did we get a second on the
I
motion?
did, I seconded.
Okay,
So
all
you
in
need
favor
to-
of closing the hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now, Jim.
So I'll make a motion to deny this NOI request without prejudice.
Good.
Do you have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, that motion passes. We're going to move on to section C. This is 127 Wapping Road, map 52, lot 5. This is a notice of intent, and I reopen a hearing for the notice of intent for the proposed demolition of a single-family house and cesspools and construction of a new single-family house with a septic system, retaining walls, site grading and paving within the 100-foot buffer to bordering vegetated wetland and the 200-foot riverfront area to a perennial stream. This is at 127 Wapping Road. Could we hear an update, Matt?
Yes. Updates for this meeting, which should have been November 26th, include a septic upgrade to a singular TNT 500 denitrifying treatment system, as well as decreasing the deck footprints, including 4,755 square feet of transition to natural vegetation within the 30-foot buffer as mitigation. An aerial photo plan has been included with 2023 imagery, and flag A11 has been corrected due to a surveying error. The narrative now includes cleanup of the property, a vegetable garden, mowing of historically cultivated mowed areas. Alternatives for the proposed garage reconstruction are provided, as well as a 1971 aerial photo that appears to show the garage predating the WPA. So we were able to confirm the wetland lines on November 24th with John Zimmer. We made some small revisions. Flags A8A and B17R were added. It did have a point on flags not reviewed. See that now. So next to the garage, there's a shipping container on recently placed reprocessed asphalt. The asphalt comes up to the edge of the flagged wetlands. This in itself is an action that would require a permit, but it also made it impossible to assess that portion of the wetland delineation because you couldn't see any plants and you couldn't assess soil in that area. So I would make a note that flags A12 through A15 were not reviewed and should not be considered confirmed in any issued permit, but also that probably should be moved or removed or something along those lines. Moving back, they did provide, asked for a letter on the trees. It was provided, but it was not from a certified arborist that I could tell. Looked like a landscape company. It was pretty basic. We've all seen the trees, seen the photos. The trees are in rough shape. One of the trees you can see right through it. But I made the point at the first site visit that they did appear to be attempting to heal wounds and grow, and there was some interesting language in the arborist report about like tip dieback in the canopy, and I questioned whether somebody actually went up and looked at that because you can't really tell that from the ground easily anyways with leaf off condition. So I don't know if we have a good answer on the trees or not yet. I did talk a little bit more about that later on. As far as the garage, like I said, they submitted 1971 imagery that may show the garage in place where it is. It's not super clear, but it's the most feasible answer for what's there. The garage probably has been there before the wetlands regulations were in place. They did provide an alternatives analysis for reconstruction of the garage, and it explains that while it could be located further from the stream, it can't be feasibly located outside of jurisdiction, and any relocation at all would require ground disturbance for pouring a foundation, while ground disturbance at the present location would only be due to contractor foot traffic. There's, I think, something to be said about that area over the long term, whether that can revegetate, with a lot of use around the area. So there may be some condition to be had about conservation posts next to the garage or something like that, but the commission can discuss that if they want to. We had pointed out the agricultural activities and everything out back and the cleanup. The proposal now describes all of the work that's happened to date. It highlights an area of historic mowing or cultivation to be kept open and managed, and shows it surrounded by conservation posts prohibiting work beyond them. So that would result in better protection of the area than historically seen, provided that the applicant understands that no materials or equipment could be legally stored beyond the posts. The proposed cultivation or mowing area is mostly in the outer 200-foot riverfront area, with a portion of it in the inner 100-foot riverfront area and in the 100-foot buffer to BVW. As a note, the B-series wetland is not delineated east of flag B1, as the A-series is not delineated beyond A20. So essentially, the wetlands are only delineated around where the house was, where the housework was involved. There's no delineation back beyond that around this area that we're talking about now. The only potential issue with KWPR in permitting that area as a mowed, cultivated area would be the 30-foot no-touch landscaping to BVW and the portion of KWPR in 9.01 where the commission may require a 100-foot no-touch boundary as a minimum protection measure for streams, but that's all up to the commission. They may take into account the historic use of this area as a mowed, cultivated area, but they are in no way bound to any grandfathering. So not counting the A and B series conservation posts, the posts around the cultivation and mowing area will protect around 2.75 acres of riverfront area, buffer zone, and BVW, and 19 acres if you're counting the additional acreage beyond the streams. And that is a conversation that should be had, because essentially where you have conservation posts now all the way around that area, you do have additional wetlands and uplands up in the northern part of the property that would technically be protected by that unless that were specifically called out somehow. There was an additional variance request for the mowing or cultivation within the 30-foot buffer to BVW that was provided. There was an updated variance request that aligns with 5.23 of KWPR, detailing the mitigation proposed, which now includes that denitrifying septic system, approximately 5,000 square feet of passive buffer zone revegetation protected by conservation posts, and that's in the front of the property. And it includes a small portion of BVW revegetation as well, and conservation posts around that historically cultivated or mowed area to the north in between the two streams. As far as the septic tank, like I said, it's now with a singular TNT 500. That system, from everything that I've gathered and the materials they provided, reduces nitrate, nitrogen, total nitrogen, and CBOD, which is carbonaceous biochemical oxygen demand, and TSS, total suspended solids. It is still proposing the geomat leaching system. The Singular product brochure claims 68% total reduction in total nitrogen, while literature suggests the standard system will remove roughly 20% through conversion to nitrogen gas. I wrote and passed on to the applicant it's worth discussing nitrogen versus phosphorus as it relates to septic systems in wetlands. Nitrogen being a limiting nutrient in marine and coastal systems, while phosphorus is limiting in freshwater. Both of them are contaminants that can lead to eutrophication, which is one of the biggest issues facing our wetlands and waterways, but they're more damaging in the systems where they are the limiting nutrient in plant or algae production. Were this an isolated freshwater system such as a vernal pool, nitrogen would be concerning, but not as much as phosphorus, as this septic system will be upgradient from and within 200 feet of a perennial stream that connects to the Jones River and eventually Kingston Bay. Both nitrogen and phosphorus are of concern. The Jones already has issues related to eutrophication due to development-related pressures, and the sharp decline in eelgrass, which is a crucial marine species in the bay, is almost certainly the result of eutrophication based on several recent studies. What I've read on septic systems suggests that standard systems are more effective at removing phosphorus than nitrogen, as phosphorus readily binds to soil, it's taken up by plants, while nitrogen's highly mobile in groundwater in nitrate form.
Matt, can I just on that point right there?
Sure.
You're speaking specifically about the leaching field, correct? Not the, you said, I forget your exact term, but you said.
I said system.
System,
Yeah,
but
just-
you're talking about the leaching, not the specific, right? Because
Yeah.
we're talking versus the geo system that's on it.
Correct, yeah. Treatment of phosphorus is a chemical process or one involving specialized media. That's when you're talking about treatment in a tank. It's not clear how much phosphorus comes out of a standard system or this system that's proposed. Phosphates aren't used any longer in laundry detergents, and they're pretty minimal in dishwasher detergents. They are present in human waste, hand soaps, shampoo, other consumer products. The ability of phosphorus to travel through the groundwater or enter wetland systems is tied to the soil capacity. If it's exceeded, it's going to move down gradient. And this is more likely in sandy areas or areas in close proximity to surface waters, which this one is. I'm not going to talk specific concentrations and all of that, but there's enough documentation that the amount of wastewater coming out of a standard residential system is enough to affect and cause eutrophication in fresh water. It's unclear to me whether the proposed geomat system will significantly reduce total phosphorus, and I don't know if the engineer can speak to that at all. The reduction of phosphorus in septic systems happens in the soil matrix above the water table, and that depends on the types of soil used and the types of cation present, iron, aluminum, that sort of stuff. The water table here is high, hence the need for the geomat, so there may be less capacity for those reactions, but also the shallow nature of the geomat system means there may be more interaction with plants, there may be more opportunity for plant uptake. In this case, it's, it is turf. So like any fertilized lawn, proper disposal of lawn clippings is going to be important. They can't be dumped in any jurisdictional areas or any area where it's going to run off into resource areas, even if it's from outside of jurisdiction. So I don't have a great answer to that. I think it's great that this treatment system was provided. That's anytime you're getting any treatment, that is a win, but it's important, and I try in every situation to point out the specifics of what that system means in that particular location. So in this location, it's a little bit tough because both are going to be concerning. You're going to have issues with nitrogen because you're tied to a stream system that's going to go dump out in the bay, and then you've got your freshwater system itself that phosphorus is going to affect. And I'm not sure whether this system does provide any phosphorus reduction or not. And just lastly on that, which I only included the bullets that are relevant to this site from the National Environmental Services Center, factors that contribute to problems where on-site wastewater systems can contribute to pollution of lakes or streams, coarse-grained soils, sandy, gravelly soils with rapid flow rates, drain fields with thin soils or high water tables, which this one has, and systems with drain fields close to lakes or streams, which this also has. So there are factors there that make it worth discussing. We already talked about this. Updated plan and narrative include all of what my recommendations were from the last time we discussed this. Details the existing lawn, details the area that's historically cultivated to manage as a field, outlines an area within that for a vegetable garden, creates that 5,000 square foot passive naturalization area, and outlines all the cleanup activities to date. Doesn't propose any additional tree or brush clearing other than the 2 trees that were out front that we've discussed. Back to the garage, as far as a recommendation, the commission's not required to grandfather the structure, but it does appear to have been there since at least 1971, and the commission should certainly consider that in its decision-making process and balance the potential detrimental impacts of the alternatives over the short and long term. Over the short term, it's certainly less impactful to rebuild on an existing foundation. Over the long term, it may be less impactful to rebuild further from the stream, even if a new foundation were required. It all depends on how everything is done. If the commission does permit the rebuilding of the existing structure, steps should be taken to minimize disturbance behind the building, as there is little protection for the stream. I had said earlier that a certified arborist letter should be provided on the tree removal out front. I feel like we still don't have that. I already spoke to much of my feelings on that. Spoke about the tip dieback. You mentioned sucker growth, but that's a very common situation for that particular species of tree. It suckers from the base a lot, and particularly in cases where trees haven't been cared for, which in this case, I would imagine these trees probably haven't had much of any care at all over the decades. So the letter doesn't really provide any information as to whether the trees would be candidates for any restorative or preventative care or detail any risk to the applicant's property. The applicant did mention, concern about if you're going to put a new septic system out there, should one of the trees fall, that could crush your septic system, and you may end up having to spend a lot of money to replace that. But both trees are between 40 and 60 feet from BVW as drawn in the plan, and it's up to the commission how they want to, allow that. There have been no replacement trees proposed for that area. Back to the septic, the applicant has shown a system that will remove significant quantities of nitrogen and likely reduce the potential for fecal contamination through lowering CBOD, but may still be a source of substantial phosphorus contamination into the adjacent perennial stream and the Jones River watershed. The applicant may wish to provide additional information on phosphorus reduction. We have all our variances in, now 5 variances requested. Mitigation is proposed. I spoke to all of that. The commission should determine whether the mitigation is sufficient to outweigh any detrimental impacts to the wetlands or the interests they provide for. In that discussion, it should be confirmed whether the posts are intended to protect the area between the mowing area and the streams or the property beyond. And I already mentioned the different flag issues, not confirming A12 through A15, and that the A series and B series were not delineated past those points, behind the house. And that conservation posts remain in perpetuity. And I can note that the posts around the cultivation or mowing area have to tie in seamlessly with the A and the B series posts so that they're not just floating around. They should all be sort of a loop around the property. That was a lot of talking.
It was. I'd like to invite the applicant or their representative, if they are here, to come up to the podium.
Yeah, we have Pat Brennan online.
Thank you. Pat Brennan, PGB Engineering. I'm the engineer for the applicant. Matt did a really good job of summarizing the things that have changed since our first hearing. For the geomat system, I'm just going to read, this is out of one of the manuals for the geomat system. I just want to read this paragraph, just to give you a little information on what it says about phosphorus and so forth. So it says the combination of a high surface area to void space ratio and shallow placement in the soil profile result in enhanced aeration. Shallow placement in the more biologically active soil horizons additionally enhances treatment of nitrogen, phosphorus, pharmaceutical compounds, and other emerging contaminants of concern. BOD, total suspended solids, viruses, and other pathogens. So the geomat does provide a little more protection than your standard conventional leaching field would. So I believe, that combined with the denitrifying septic tank will certainly provide a much better level of protection than what has historically been in the property or just a conventional system would provide. And I believe Matt covered everything else. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any, and I believe that the applicant is in the audience physically there tonight as well.
Just a quick follow-up. Do you know, does the geomat, do they quantify that at all? Does it say anything about the rate?
Yeah, it's not quantified, but I can reach out to the company and see if they have any numbers on that.
I'd like to see the numbers, if we're gonna consider that, as a viable alternative for phosphate mitigation.
The applicant? Who is the applicant in this matter? Would you mind coming up to the podium? Just identify yourself for the record. That way, if you have anything you'd like to say to us, or if we have any questions for you, we can get them on the record.
How you doing? I'm David Gassy, applicant for 127 Wapping Road.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions from the commission for this applicant?
I don't
Any
know if you-
members of the public?
Are there conservation posts on this plan already that I'm missing?
Is it
Or
the
is-
most,
we're
the most
just-
updated one? The most updated
11,
one is
25,
conservation
25?
posts.
Is there a newer plan than that?
Do you want me to put it up on, is that what you're asking?
No, I was gonna I only have one comment. So the only thing I don't see on the revised plans is roof runoff control. Everything else looks fine.
Okay.
I guess I do have one question. What is the plans for the existing garage? You just gonna fix it up?
Yeah, it needs a roof, put some siding on it, and that's about it.
Okay, so it's structurally sound?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did I not see pictures with the roof caving in?
That's what you said, you
I
need the
just
new
said it
roof.
needs a roof.
No, the roof was caving in, that's a structure. Buzz asked about structural, I believe.
But I mean, it has a foundation and it has walls.
Yes.
It
yes.
just needs to be fixed.
I think I think in the filing, it was pitched as it could be replaced from the foundation up.
Oh, is that the plan?
It doesn't have to do that. It
That's
could
not
be
the plan.
Renovated, but that was what was, I said, if you're gonna rebuild it, you know, in any of the
The
next couple of
structural
years, you
pieces
wanna get it
inside
permitted.
are decent. The shingles have fallen off on one corner. There's a hole in the roof on one corner, but the main supports are still there.
Okay, and this is all work you can do by hand?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else from the
You
commission?
want to throw up the newest plan, because I can't.
Sure. In the meantime, if anybody, since, you know, if he's gonna look into the phosphorus, do you wanna discuss anything else? Do you wanna discuss the 2 trees out front? Do you wanna discuss the garage or any of the other stuff so that there aren't any more questions?
I like the idea of asking them to look into the runoff and show it on the plan if it's not there, and if
The what?
the roof runoff.
Yeah, again, need some drywalls for the roof. I don't know. I've driven by that, those trees don't look that healthy to me, but I'm not an arborist, so.
Right. I mean, I would like to keep them, but they don't look healthy to me either.
Would you be willing to replace them?
We plan on planting a lot of new stuff around there.
If you could show that on the plan, the
Right.
updated plan, that would help what you plan on planting. And then if you could get a letter from an arborist, just to have them come and inspect it and outline why they're not, you know, why they should come down, that would help.
Right. Okay.
And perhaps get a suggestion.
Basically, it helps us if you show that you're going to replace those on the plan, and if they're not there,
Yes.
eventually we can hold you accountable for what's supposed to be there.
Right.
So. Matt, you also mentioned,
Get rid of this.
a lawn or cultivated area within the 30-foot. What's the purpose of that? Just lawn, or is it going to be?
I believe that's out back. That is,
Yeah, it's off of
that's
that
not on
map.
this plan. It's on,
It's on the aerial. Are you gonna clean up all those old vehicles back there and everything?
Yes, I've cleaned up a lot of junk already.
Okay.
But yes, none of that stuff will be back there.
So you're not the
All the
original?
tires, everything will be,
So you've recently purchased this property?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
so this is the rear of the property here, or at least the middle, I guess I should say, because it does go on further back there. But this is the historic cultivation area here that's in the black, and that does go within the 30-foot buffer zone. Specifically, I think right here, if not elsewhere. So that's all that was. And there is a call-out on the plan for conservation posts.
Around that black area, I guess? That's where it's
Yes.
supposed, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, this view is, I complain about this in every meeting, the PDF viewer. Trying to,
The call-out's on a more recent plan.
this is not, the 1118 is not the, was there an
There's a-
1125 on this one?
There was an 1124 update revised.
There we go. Beautiful. Ah, there we are. Install conservation markers at 50-foot spacing around mowed area. So this is what I was talking about. You have your A-series wetland on this side, and on the new plan, it has conservation posts called out there, there, there. And then you have the B-series wetland over here, and you have conservation posts here, here. So just pointing out that if you're gonna do 50-foot around this mowed area, you're gonna carry it from here up and over, and then from here, you're gonna figure out a way to have that tied into there as well, because you
I mean,
have,
if they're coming back, Matt, why don't you just have them put them on the plan?
Yeah,
Right.
it's cleaner.
yeah. Could do
And
that.
just call them out.
See, you have right here, and then you have a space before this one right here, so you'd basically have like,
Yeah, just
connect
have 'em
between the
fill
two
in-
of them,
have
go
'em
up and
fill that in.
around.
Yep.
And then the discussion that I was talking about earlier was, what are those posts protecting? Are these posts just protecting between here and the stream? Or are they protecting the area beyond that as well? Because the property goes in both directions up here. Much of it is in the riverfront area. There are a few small sections that aren't.
Well, the posts are gonna go all the way around that black line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think just call out the posts, and then everything beyond the posts is off limits.
Unless you come back in the future and
Right.
get.
It's an
File.
identification,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
there won't be any
Now,
missed.
we also need a statement in there that I see extra, like, vehicles and stuff outside of that block line. That all has to get removed before the posts go in.
That's in the process now.
Thank you.
Great.
And you plan to live at this property?
Yes, me and my girlfriend.
Okay.
Right, I noticed that Pine du Bois has a question, and we hear from Ms. Du Bois.
Thank you, Chair. Do you want me to weigh in now?
Please do.
So I apologize for coming in the middle of Matt's dissertation on the project, but I do want to clarify that the Jones River is 303D listed Category 5D, which means that eventually Kingston is going to have a heavy lift for getting the pollutants out of the river. DEP hasn't completed their TMDL yet, but I'm sure they will get around to it. One of the concerns that I have has to do with the garage and its adjacence to the wetland. I don't know what kind of floor is in the garage, whether it's a dirt floor or a concrete floor. Knowing my garage and my garage habits, I think that it's important that there is no potential for leakage of gasoline or oils or paint or solvents or
It is
I don't know
concrete.
what he's going to use on his landscape, but anything into the adjacent wetlands, that concerns me. And I feel like, you know, that needs to be addressed, and that the drainage from the garage should be toward the house rather than toward the wetland. I also want to point out that immediately to the north, the water department owns a well site, and that it's important, even though it's not an active well site, the town of Kingston is struggling right now to supply the demand that is needed by the residents. And, you know, it would not be unlikely that they might need to develop that area, in which case you're very close to what might be a public well. So I feel like I'm not, you know, trying to say that I'm opposed to the project or anything. I don't know the system that you're proposing. I trust Matt and his ability to evaluate that, as well as the commission. But I do feel like this is an extremely sensitive area, that it really matters how it's maintained, and that it's very easy to goof. And, you know, we all do that. Well, everybody makes a mistake all the time, right? So, you know, it's important to really appreciate the sensitivity of the site. The two perennial streams are really Spring Brook, I think, and that those are a direct tributary to the Jones River and very important, very close to the tidal reach, and very important in terms of the effort that we've been making at the Jones River Watershed Association to restore the fisheries and whatnot. So I just wanted to weigh in on that level. Not really, I haven't looked at the plans close enough to really have a substantial comment or anything, but I did want to say that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This over here is the passive naturalization area with conservation posts behind it. This was the one wetland flag that we moved further forward, so now part of the passive naturalization area is technically within wetland area that had been mowed previously. And then we moved one flag over this side closer to the shed.
Matt, can I ask, just to clarify on the statement about the town well, whether it's online or offline, where is that? Do you know where that is? Does this property overlap with a protected resource in that regard that we haven't discussed?
Let me pull up the town GIS and just take a quick look. I don't know off the top of my head, and actually, I do know off to the northeast of the Priolo Wapping Road parcel, there is water department land over there. I know that we sent this out to the water department and they didn't provide comment, but I hear, what Pine is saying, and I think that
I'd like that to go on our list, because I do want to make sure that we're not missing something in that regard, because that's one of our primary functions.
Yeah, the land, if I may, the land, the water department land, there's a little piece of it that touches the northeast corner of this parcel. However, you wouldn't be able to site a well in that portion of it.
there it is right here.
It would be between the Priolo property. This is basically between the Priolo property and that water supply land where you could actually put a well.
Matt, can you show me that?
Oh, wait, sorry, I thought I was sharing my screen that whole time. Great. So this is the subject parcel right here. And this is the water department right here and here. And then this is Hathaway Preserve, conservation land.
And we're right up along the road. Correct.
Yeah, I can show you from the imagery. Your house is right here and the septic system is right here. Now, part of the reason I had pointed some of this stuff out is, and Pat can correct me if I misspeak here, but the septic system is, now the house itself is also being raised up, but the septic system is being raised up in addition to getting the geomat because of that groundwater. So you are going to have a situation where there's going to be a steeper runoff from where the septic system is to where the brook goes through to the side there. So that it is part of why, the soils, the geomat, everything, I think just, I think a property like this has been developed for a long time. There weren't wetland regulations for a long time, but most of this property is within wetland jurisdiction between BBW, streams, riverfront area, and you want to get it right. So I certainly don't think this is a property where the commission's going to look at it and say, like, you can't build anything here. But I think you want to make sure that if you're going to approve a new septic system here, given that these things don't meet the local standards, then you want to make sure that it's doing everything it should be doing to protect that resource area. And similarly with the garage, she brings up a good point, right? Everybody has a garage, they throw a bunch of stuff in there, some of the stuff eats through the metal can and then leaks out, and I don't know, if something ends up where it leaks out of the building and then hits runoff from rain, now it's in the stream, it's in the Jones, it's everywhere, right? So something as simple as requiring secondary containment on chemicals would be great, but you're never going to enforce that. I'm not going to go to his house and check in his garage to make sure. It's just, it's definitely something to take into account. It's not often that you have a garage within 10 feet of a stream or 20 feet of a stream. It's not ideal, but it's also already there and has been there for a long time, so that should certainly be taken into account as well.
Do you see any zone 1 or zone 2 protections on that map? Matt, my internet isn't working. That's what we're supposed to be looking for, right? Zone 1, zone 2?
I don't think there is. I think they'd have to have the,
Maybe we could just get affirmative confirmation from the water department, not just a no comment, right?
I believe we have a response from the superintendent that said that they had nothing. I can follow up again just to say, hey, it was brought up that there is, potential nearby, but I don't think something like this necessarily registers with them, but it does add to it does add to
To
what
layer
the commission's
complexity.
already looking at, which is you have a new septic system being installed within the riverfront area of a stream. The stream connects to the Jones. I don't know the condition of the stream more than just from being there for a couple site visits, but like Pine said, the Jones is documented to have some serious eutrophication issues, and they are from, you know, this sort of thing. So you definitely want to get stuff like this right going forward. You're going to build a septic system there. It's going to be there for decades, you know, going to live there and have a family there and be there for a long time. So this is your chance to get something like that right, and then hopefully have something like this be an example of how you go forward with this type of development.
Any other questions from the commission?
Pat has his hand up if you don't have any.
I just have a quick question. You said they made the deck smaller. Was that, did I hear you right?
Yes, yeah, I believe that was to get it outside of the 40-foot setback. It was nothing hugely substantial. Pat can correct me if I'm wrong there, but it was a slight reduction, I think, just to shift it away from the wetlands a little bit.
Okay.
Mr. Brennan?
Yeah, the decks were reduced in size a little bit. When we first submitted, we didn't have the structural plans yet, so when we got the structural plans, we revised the decks to match the structural plans. They are smaller in area. And with the original submittal, I did submit a regulatory map, which was a printout from Mass GIS. That map had the FEMA flood zones, the outstanding resource waters, areas of critical environmental concern, priority habitat, certified vernal pools, potential vernal pools, as well as zone 2. So there's no zone 2 in that area whatsoever. It's shown on that map that I had provided. It's called a regulatory map. It was 11 by 17 that was submitted with the original notice of intent paperwork.
Anything else?
Not right now.
Nothing more.
Does the commission require this to be continued?
Continued.
Gather more information? Can I have a motion to that effect?
I'd make a motion, but I'd like to hear timing, what they think that they would need for timing for a continuance.
Do we want to hear from Mr. Brennan or from the applicant on that?
Your next available date, I would say.
Yeah, next available is
January
January 14th.
All right, I'll make a motion to continue this to January 14th.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you for your courtesy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So where are we?
We are going back to 105 Monks Hill Road.
All right, so I'm going to open a public meeting. This is to discuss the request for determination of applicability of the RDA for 105 Monks Hill Road. This was submitted by property owner David Blumenfeld for a proposed replacement of an existing failing well, including site grading and running a new well line into the home. Can we hear a briefing from you, Matt?
Sure. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull the plan up just so that we have that ready to go. Okay. So the applicant proposes replacement of an existing well. This is a well for whole house service. It's not a lawn lawn-only, outdoor-only situation. So there is an existing well there that is failing, and they are looking for a new site. So this includes site grading and installation of a new well line and well pump. It is on a previously developed area of the property within the 100-foot vernal pool buffer zone. The well is roughly 120 feet from the mean high water line, outside of the vernal pool resource area boundary within its 100-foot buffer zone. The portion of the property between the driveway and the house is previously developed and would not count as part of the vernal pool resource area under KWPR. Vernal pool was marked on a 2006 RDA, and I did see it during a 2024 site visit to this property. Skip through some of this. The extent of grading and excavation needed to connect the well to the existing home is not shown or explained, and no erosion or sedimentation controls are shown. I expect a lot of that to be minimal, but we may still want a condition for erosion control. Applicant has shown there is no feasible location for the proposed work located further from the resource area boundary. Because the area is in a developed state, there are no specific setbacks or no disturbance zones that apply. There's no structures or walls and no clearing of vegetation required. There is a consideration in some situations where the commission may deny a project within 200 feet from mean high water on a vernal pool, unless the applicant proves that the project will have no adverse impacts on the vernal pool or its ability to provide for the interests. Water level would be a big issue for that. You wouldn't want somebody taking a lot of water away from a vernal pool. In this case, being that it is replacement of a failing residential well, there should be no significant difference in groundwater availability, since the existing well is in the same general region and roughly 10 feet further from the vernal pool than the existing. Location of the proposed well appears to be at the edge of a core habitat patch, number 996, but again, the work is between the driveway and the residence. Tree clearing will be minimal. Project should not have an adverse effect on the listed core habitat. Plans, again, don't provide much information on the extent of ground disturbance. The commission could request more information about the extent of grading and excavation plan for the site, including information about the specific location of grading and descriptions of any trees or vegetation being removed. But again, I expect that much of this is in a previously disturbed lawn area. You could also request more information about where the well line will be placed, although it will likely run straight from the well to the house. So you may want confirmation, but it seems like that would be a pretty much a no-brainer. And in that area, you're not going to hit anything concerning in terms of resources. ESC measures are recommended between the project and the vernal pool, but it does appear to be the least impactful location for the proposed well. Appears to meet all the standards of the Wetlands Protection Act and KWPR. So unless the commission wants more information about any of that grading and clearing, I would recommend issuance of a -3 DOA approving the project. And the well location is shown on the screen here in this yellow area, and it's within where the driveway to the house goes. If you wanted to see that on Axis, I can pull up the imagery. You can see the area. If you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
Any questions for the
Thank you,
commission?
Mayor.
Let's have Buzz first.
So do we know if this is just a PVC well, or is this a rock well? Are they gonna have to drill into the rock?
Did you say
Shallow
drill
well
into
or
rock?
artesian?
Yeah, so is it like a casing, a steel casing well, or is it just a PVC, with an auger drilling into the ground?
Let me see if I have that information, because I don't think.
Is anybody here from the well people? Online or anything?
Matt, did they discuss depth of the well? Because that tells you what, artesianal wells go down 1,000+ feet, where the shallow wells could be 20 feet, 40 feet.
I'm imagining it's a shallow well, the pond's right there, but the point of me asking that is I think, obviously, they need to replace their well. I think my only concern would be is if it's a rock well, they need to, in order for the rock machine to drill in the well, they have to make a little pond next to where they're drilling to circulate the drilling mud to do their work. So I would say the only condition I would add is if it is a rock well, that they need to put containment around that area, and then clean up any, they use bentonite clay when they do that work, so that has to be removed off-site, it can't just be buried.
Let me read this. I don't know that this answers all of your questions, but it says, project to preemptively replace existing failing well with new artesian well and well line. Current well, which is original to property, has begun to show wear-related issues in well line due to mineral and iron buildup and can no longer fit or accommodate the recommended 4-inch pump due to the same issue. As such, professional assessment is that it prevents a failure risk, putting the health and sanitation of property inhabitants at imminent risk. Step 1, grading to flatten area for equipment access. 2, drilling of 1 new artesian well, minimum 200 feet depth. 3, running of well line to house. 4, installation of new well pump. And there is a photo that shows
Yeah, so I think just
the
add
area.
in the order of conditions that they have to, do a mud sock, around the work area, and that they, restore the, I think they call it a mud pit to its original conditions after the well is drilled.
Jim?
And if they're, what are those, what's that thing you call when you put the dirty water into it and it filters the water?
Dewatering?
No, not dewatering, it's like
It's a bladder, right?
it's a bladder and.
Oh, the bag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they gotta use a bag, because when they're drilling, they're circulating that mud pump, and then there's excess water that comes when they're flushing the well,
Okay.
and it's
I think
full
it's
of clay.
dewatering.
So we just need to make sure that that clay doesn't go, if they're just gonna work in an area, then just make a mess and clean it up and be done.
Yeah.
Don't spew that water all over the place.
Any chance you could email me those specifics, or should you restate them when I write them down? Because I was doing stuff.
No, I can't, like, right now email you?
No, you don't have to email
Oh.
me right now.
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Okay.
Jim?
But I
And
think
just for the record, there's no orders and conditions, it's just a DOA, so
Yeah.
these are more like, if they don't follow them,
Oh, okay.
we'd probably take enforcement action.
All right,
But,
so I think, based on that, I think we can give a verbal for that, and then you can write the details.
okay.
That sounds good, but Jim?
So, Matt, my question was that image there. Is this something that's pitched, there'll be good pitch away from the wellhead? Meaning that it's raised up above the land adjacent to it, and we don't have to worry about infiltration along the pipes? Is it located in such, I just want to make sure that we're not approving a site that is in a depression that could have some water infiltration, especially if it's going down that deep.
It appears to be, and from my recollection, a high point. So I thought you were gonna say, is it gonna be something that could run off towards the vernal pool? And I think the answer would be yes. It's this area, then the driveway, and then it slopes down to the vernal pool. So I don't think there's a situation where this would.
I'm more concerned with making sure that we don't allow any kind of first wash or anything going in towards the pipe where it could channel down along a settling ground next to a pipe as it gets older. So I want to make sure that we're citing it as such that it's not introducing some kind of detriment to the groundwater source. And as long as it's on a hill and they can make sure that it's sloping away, then that would be all I'd ask.
Anything else from the commission?
Fine, have it,
Mr. Bois, would you like to comment?
I had a question also. I take it this is a drinking water well, or is this a geothermal well, or is it for filling up that swimming pool that they've got, that kind of thing? What is the?
My understanding is
floor
it's
capacity?
the entire house service. It's everything for the house.
But I don't know what that means, I guess.
It's your drinking water, your washing water, your,
Drinking water, your bath.
It's a potable water
Everything.
source.
yeah.
It's a drinking water.
But essentially, yeah, legally speaking, it's a drinking water source, a potable water source.
To
Actually,
replace
so
a
it's
failed
not-
well.
It's not geothermal for the heating of the home, that kind of thing, so there's no external discharge from it other than maybe landscaping. And
Geothermal
then,
would be 2 or more.
because it is 200 feet, so that's nice. I think it's nice that it's 200 feet.
Jim was saying if it was geothermal, it would need more than one.
You need a
Well,
pump out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too, but I'm just not sure that I completely understand the project. And the pool, I saw the pool on the plan that you showed there. Is that a concrete pool that gets filled once every few years, or once a year, or every couple of months, or, that kind of thing? And is there a discharge associated with that, because it would have additional chemicals in it that we should be concerned about with Smelt Pond? That's really all. I don't really have anything more than that. It's just a curiosity.
I will, just to the commission, I will follow up with the homeowner on that sort of stuff. This is a relatively new owner of the property of the last couple of years that's been very responsive to anything that has been brought up, so he seems to be the type of person who wants to do the right thing. Typically, when there are pools, you ask that they don't dump the water towards the wetlands and that sort of stuff, so I can just sort of bring that stuff up, and I'm sure he'll follow along with that.
Right, thanks so much.
And if it's a filter pool, I don't even think you backwash filter pools anymore.
Right.
Right, so.
Do I have a motion to issue the -3 DOA?
We were continuing.
Or we're going to continue this?
Yeah, it is open items.
Yeah, was there specifically something that you all still wanted? I thought I heard Buzz say specific conditions that would be.
Buzz, were we waiting for feedback on that, or?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
it's a drinking well, it's failing, we should move it along.
Okay.
The applicant's very, very responsive. I think we just need to protect the work area and let them,
Check in the special condition.
and add some conditions about the rock well drilling in the mud pit, and move, let them, before it gets too cold, and he won't be able to replace the water line, because the ground's gonna be frozen.
You want to make that motion, Bud?
That's my motion. Motion to, was it a negative?
Yeah, -3 with special conditions.
With special conditions as I just espoused.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'm going to issue a -3 with conditions. So I'm going to open a discussion on the upcoming grant applications to the Community Preservation Committee, Department of Transportation Culvert Program, and the Community Biodiversity Program.
So I don't always do this. Sometimes I just rifle off grant applications all willy-nilly.
Yeah.
But in certain situations, I felt like it's really good to have the commission specifically vote in support of them, and then we have some support letters. 3 of them we have with us here tonight for your signing pleasure, and the other one I would probably harass you over the next week or so to come in and sign, because we didn't prepare that one for tonight. But to run through things as quickly as I possibly can, and then if you have any questions, shoot. We're going to be preparing 2 CPC applications. One of them would be to purchase the land at 83 Wapping Road. That is Roger Carrera's last parcel. It is roughly 3.8 acres. It contains our 10-foot wide easement to access Hathaway Preserve. I'm told that our easement would be fine going forward in perpetuity. However, you can end up with combative landowners, and we've had situations like that in town. So this is our opportunity to buy that, to be able to take the parking area from the back power lines and bring it up in view of Wapping Road for safety purposes, but also to increase access to the property. Right now, the 2-track road that runs down the easement is very tough. If you don't have high ground clearance, you're probably not going to go there. So it's a great property. It's got access to the Jones River, not access in the nautical sense, but it's a great area. It's a great property, good trails, and it just doesn't, I think, have a lot of access for people. We currently have a appraisal in process. I should have it back hopefully by the end of the week, and we're hoping that we can go forward with a purchase on that. CPC, I have no idea how much money is going to be available this year. I don't know it's going to be that much. We may not be able to get any of these in, but we're going to try. And then I'll go forward with other grant applications, obviously, as we always do. But that one's pretty simple. It's just purchase of land for conservation property. The only thing about it, Fox Rock Farms bought the Carrera Bogs, and they are farming them, as well as doing bees, and they plant native pollinator plants to try to boost habitat for native bees in addition to the honeybees, because otherwise the honeybees just steal everything. So they do some really good stuff there. And there's 1 acre of this property that is part of the bogs that they are currently farming. So we would have the opportunity, and I don't know how we would go about the legal portions of that, but we could have some sort of a deal with them where they're able to still actively farm that 1 acre section of bog. And that's the only thing about that.
Now, can I ask, did anybody reach out to them? Would they be interested in partnering with us to buy this property?
I have, but, you know, financially, it's a lot of money to put towards 1 acre of bog. But we will certainly keep in touch with them as the process goes along and see if there's anything that they feel like they can do. They seemed, you know, excited about the possibility that we could buy that and maintain it that way instead of it being developed on. There's potential for probably a couple of houses or something on there. I'm not exactly sure what the legal extent of development could be there, but we're hoping that we can pull something off with that. The other one is the Maple Street property. I called it the Maple Street Extravaganza on the CPC project notification forms because I didn't really know what to call it, because I didn't know and still don't know what that's going to look like. I had a meeting today with the property owner, the town planner, and a potential developer who's been under contract for the property for a while, kicking around, you know, doing due diligence. He's realizing that you can't do anything particularly big in that area. This is the property that's behind the fire station property that the town owns in Maple Street. He's hoping to do something a little smaller that fits in a little better. And we had a meeting just to kind of talk about options and whether there's some stuff that can be had there. I mean, conservation, we want the wetlands protected. We want the dam so that we can breach it for fish passage and for resiliency. And there's potential where the town may want the building that's at 20 Maple Street to replace our fire station, where the highway department, fire department, and harbor master, if not others, use that for cold storage. Affordable housing may want to be involved in a deal like that. They already have money, so they don't need to come to CPC and ask for a large amount for something like this. But again, I don't know that CPC has the money to fund necessarily both of these, and I don't know how much we're asking for at this point, but I am preparing applications for the conservation portion anyways, if not the building as well, on the CPC, just to get something on paper and in the process for discussion purposes. Next is DOT culvert program. MassDOT came out with a new program for culvert replacements, and we have had the worst time trying to find funding for the Lake Street culvert replacement, which has been fully permitted now for, I think, a couple of years. We do have already a grant right now that's paying for due diligence work and bid prep. So we just had an assessment done of Old Lake Street to see if we can keep it open for emergency vehicles, because that was a big issue for the fire department and police. And we hope that we can get funding through this one. On top of that, there may be another application in conjunction with Mass Bays to look for removal of the Tussock Brook Tide Gate, where I believe it's Route 3 crosses Tussock Brook. And they would sort of, Mass Bays, I believe, would carry the heavy lifting on that, and we may be the applicant on that. So that's that one. And then the state Department of Fish and Game just came out with a community biodiversity grant, and I believe I already emailed you on all that. If you didn't get it, just a quick gist of it, they want a highlight on biodiversity. Biodiversity decline is a big issue. You've heard me harping on it constantly in the last almost 5 years. I want to apply for this grant to kick off something I've wanted to start for a long time, which is sort of a pollinator habitat task force. I want a group of people who care, who want to do some hard work, who want to plan and fundraise and implement pollinator habitat or beneficial habitat projects in town wherever it's possible. Low-hanging fruit, easy stuff, municipal land where there's a little bit of lawn that nobody needs and where they won't be too mad that it doesn't look perfectly kempt, that sort of stuff. So we're going to apply for that. I'll stop there. Any questions?
Do I hear a motion to support the applications presented by Matt?
I'll make that
Are you
motion.
going to do them separately or as a group?
You're the CPC chair. Do we have to do them separately?
I'm going to abstain from the CBC ones. So I
Why?
appreciate it if you did it separately.
Do
From the
CPC
chair.
first.
Yeah, but what if I sit on the CPC now and Dot sits on the CPC?
I think it's different if you're chair. You do what you want.
Okay. Well, now I'm
I'm
confused about
afraid
what
that
I-
it would suggest that I'm already approving them.
I think it's fine for the other members to vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that happens pretty commonly, but I understand as the chair, that's, so I would say maybe vote them separately. Just do CPC
Yeah.
together and do the other two together.
All right, so I will make a motion to support the CPC applications.
Second.
If motion's been seconded, do you want to do a roll call, because we have some abstentions?
Just do voice, I'll abstain.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. And
What's the other one? The
Uh,
biodiversity?
DOT culvert and community biodiversity.
we have a motion to support this application?
I'll make a motion to support those.
Both, right?
Both, yeah.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes too.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, we done? Is that for enforcement?
Yep.
All right, well, I'm going to move on to enforcement. 20 Marion Drive, also known as 1 Royson Drive. This is continued from an earlier date.
Sure. Let me stop sharing. We have Attorney Adam Brodsky present on Zoom tonight, feeling under the weather after a cold site visit yesterday in the 10-degree weather, not in Kingston. Has nothing to do with me, just because they requested continuance of the request for amendment, and I informed him that I couldn't really confirm that the commission would want to continue the enforcement discussion. So he made himself available tonight. I did speak with town council a little bit earlier about some of this stuff, just to make sure that I felt like we had kind of everything process-wise good for the request and for the enforcement. So essentially, you know,
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mr. Pinello.
sorry, I haven't talked enough tonight. Give me a couple more seconds. Essentially, just the quickest recap. This recent enforcement action was September 20. Recent enforcement issue was the September 25th release of sediment from the work site, and there was a continuance requested for the first meeting in November. And we at that meeting discussed the idea of them assigning an environmental monitor that the commission would choose that would be on site for certain periods of time. And it was decided at that meeting that we could kind of hammer out the details between us, before the next meeting and come back to the commission with a solid plan, and then that never happened. So it's up to the commission. If the commission just wants to continue it and let us keep doing that, we can certainly keep doing that. If the commission just wants to put it to bed and issue an enforcement order with specifics on that sort of an environmental monitor, we can discuss whatever you want to discuss.
Do we hear from Mr. Brodsky?
Of course.
Mr. Brodsky, Attorney Brodsky?
Chair Venditti, good evening, everyone. I apologize for not being there this evening. As Mr. Pinello said, I'm under the weather. And forgive me, I think we erroneously assumed that since we weren't ready to tackle the amendment tonight, that this would also be continued. But I just wanted to assure the commission that we're in agreement with the approach to resolve this. I confirmed that with Mr. DeMar today, that he's agreeable to an enforcement order with an environmental monitor. Mr. Pinello and I discussed using someone local such as Brad Holmes or John Zimmer. We just need to iron out the details, and again, I'll apologize for any misunderstanding. We just thought that this was going to be done all as a fait accompli, and since we didn't get the Horsey Witten stuff in time, this sort of slid. So I would like the opportunity, please, to work with Mr. Pinella to work out the specifics. We've already discussed size of storm and different approaches as to having the monitor there. But so we're in agreement as to how to resolve this. My hope is that we could have a draft EO for you for January 14th for your review. Excuse me. I apologize.
Personally, I'm glad you're not here today.
When is his order conditions run out?
Oh,
I mean, according to the governor, probably never. Just got the free 2 years, like.
Well, I know, but that's
everybody
gotta
got.
be a while. I mean, this was 5 years ago we permitted this thing?
I think there's been multiple, there's been at least one extension, because the commission issued an extension that hinged on seeing the stormwater fix within a period of time. But that, I believe, was a 1-year extension, and then the governor issued the 2 years on top of that. So, I can look it up for you. It's not imminent.
I mean, again, it's my last meeting, but honestly, he just needs to wrap this thing up, and I've been saying that for 3 years now. Like,
It's got a little while to go. He's only, I think, in terms of buildings, it may be like 2/3 of the way there, or halfway there, but,
Well, I would take a close look at that date, and probably my advice is that when that date comes up, there's no more extensions. My 2 cents. He's been there long enough. And it's just flagrant violation after violation after violation after violation. And no matter what we say, nothing changes. He hires another consultant, or someone comes in, they come in, it's a feel-good moment, it's all lovey-dovey. Oh, don't worry, we'll put the siltation up, we'll put the barrier up, and that lasts good for 2-3 months, and then it all goes downhill again. Then you have to go out there and we start the game all over again. It's just, the goalpost it's always moving.
I think in this case, part of the past discussions has been that the commission was approaching potentially revoking the permit if this type of behavior continued, and that's why I think the monitor is a good move, in that with the right monitor, that's agreed on by the commission, rather than just somebody that might be random that you don't know has the right training or wherewithal to actually provide that service. Now setting it up in a way where those weekly reports, which don't have to be 50 pages long, it's probably a 1-page report for the most part, would be issued after every site visit to the applicant as well as to our office. So now, I'm not out at the site ever, really. I mean,
No.
Random times where I might decide to take our intern and go out in the rain and see what people are doing in the rain, and that's one of the sites that I will stop at in those situations, but they're few and far between. This would be something where at least our office is now going to have an idea of what's going on the site weekly at a minimum. And then I love the idea of just in advance of these storms, having somebody there that's telling them, here's my recommendation of what you have to do. And part of, I think, the condition in that EO is you have to listen to these recommendations,
I
or
mean,
else
how
you're gonna revoke the
long are
permit.
we gonna go on holding this guy's hand?
I'd say as long as you have to, right? I mean, if you revoke the permit, you don't have to hold his hand anymore, but then,
What do
what
we have
then?
to
And
do?
you're still gonna have to keep an eye on the site for site conditions, because it's not gonna be done, right? That was something that hinged on the amendment, was that the idea all along has been, oh, once we're done, everything's gonna be great, because we're gonna have so many infiltration galleries that the stormwater, you won't have any exposed dirt, and, if you just stop somebody in the middle and then they can't work on it, then they have to put a lot more into stabilizing the site, or we're gonna be on them constantly for enforcement. So it's just one step, I think, that can help, having somebody on site that the commission trusts to be a professional that will assess site conditions and make recommendations, and if they're not following them, the commission can revoke the permit.
So I have a question.
Sure.
If this person were to be assigned, would they also take responsibility for all the other special conditions that have not been complied with?
I think these are the things that we need to work on with the applicant, is what exactly does this site professional have to do? And it's very easy just to say, make sure that they comply with their conditions, but there are, 60 special conditions on there. And what you don't want is to have that site professional or wetland professional be there weekly, going through all 60 of those, taking 6 hours on site and charging $10,000 a week, right? You want it to be reasonable, in my opinion. It's on the property owner to make sure that they meet all of their conditions, but the biggest issue we've had there is erosion related, right? Site conditions in terms of ground management and erosion. So to me, that's a given. That's exactly what you want at a minimum, is you want somebody that's gonna be there and make sure that every one of those special conditions that relate to erosion and sedimentation and ground conditions there are followed, and make any recommendations there. Obviously, if there's something else that's egregious, they should be calling that out as well. But I don't know if there's a way or a feasible way to have them like weekly going through making sure every single thing is checked off.
Well, I
Maybe
guess-
that would be fun.
I guess the reason I'm wondering is because to Buzz's point, we haven't met with much success in regards to compliance over things as simple as having abundance of erosion control materials
Stockpile
available.
on site, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that would be one of the conditions, right? That's the first thing, right? If they don't have that, week one, they're gonna get condition number blank says erosion control and sufficient stockpile needs to be on site. We've pointed it out a bunch,
Yes,
but,
we have.
you know,
Personally.
this is our opportunity to have somebody there weekly that's pointing out those things
Okay.
in paper form and reporting them to not only the property owner, but to us.
Jim has.
Well, I would say if it's gonna be a written report, it needs to include photographs as well.
Sure.
All right, Jim.
I don't disagree with anything that Buzz Brown said. My question is more to the proper path in the future and making sure that we have somewhat of a plan set up for it. So, I mean, we have talked about very loosely, I think, or at least identified the potential to revoke a permit. And at some point, we would have to reissue a permit. There's tools in our regulations that allow for us to require financial bonds and such to make sure that things are gonna be taken care of correctly. So I think that my question to you would be, can you talk to Jay and ask him what our legal leverage is if we need, or we feel the need to implement such a, corrective course of action through an enforcement order? If we can compel them to go to the next step along with this, third party, if we decide that that's the path, because we've just had enough of this site, and their, kind of egregious actions at this point on some of this stuff, so.
You're talking specifically about the performance bond portion of it, like
Right,
what's our
yeah.
legal authority to say, in
'Cause-
addition to the
yeah.
EM, you need to provide us with X amount of dollars in a bond?
Skin in the game, right? That's the
Right.
only thing that, sometimes that's the only thing that gets through to people. And, making people see that there's a financial ramification to what's going on, and it's outside of, the $300 a day fine that we could, start talking about at some point on this stuff. I would like to know if there's a course of action that we could entertain, that would compel the applicant to tighten up the ship and get it done.
Yeah, I'd say there certainly is in KWPR the opportunity to do that, but I would check with Jay on because this one is a little messier in that
Way
there's
messier,
been
yeah.
OOCs, amendment requests, enforcement, and all sorts of stuff. You want to
He
make
might
sure
say that the only way to get to that point would be to
to revoke and
revoke and then compel them to bring it back in front of us. And so I just want to know what that looks like so that we could do what we needed to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because that's all we really want, is that they just clean up the site and make sure that there's no more releases.
Dot, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, the Hoosick Wetland report had some good information on how to do things a little differently to stop the flooding. And I think we should give them this time to absorb that, see what they can do, and make this the last time.
I think, kind of hearing what everybody's saying, including Attorney Brodsky, I think that giving them until January 14th to work with me on language while I'm checking with council on some of this stuff is likely fine, given the site conditions the last week or so anyways. The ground's been pretty frozen. Hopefully that trend continues a little bit. And I mean, there has been improvement in erosion control there since the September 25th incident. I haven't been on site in a while. We did, just today, I threw out some dates at the development team for a commission site visit.
Right, because we're still waiting for that.
Correct, yeah, so, and I think that seeing the site obviously would have helped before tonight for making this decision on whether you feel comfortable with kicking this a month down the road for issuance of an EO, but I do think it being winter does help. As opposed to summertime,
Oh, for stability.
spring, fall, for site stability,
Right.
for the chance of additional catastrophic input into, or catastrophic maybe a poor choice of words, but significant input from the site into a wetland resource area is less likely. It doesn't mean it's not possible, it just means it's less likely at this time of year. So there may be no issue with that, and I can stop by the site sometime sooner rather than later, just to make sure I don't see anything egregious in the meantime.
Well,
That
again,
way
it puts
commission
the
feel more
burden on
comfortable
you
with it.
for
Yeah, well,
spending
that's-
more and more time until something gets in place, and then you'll still have to check on it.
That's why I'm here.
Oh, please.
Well, we don't, Matt, I don't think, I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure I speak for others. I don't know who, but you're not supposed to be doing that stuff. This is a problem applicant that needs to self-police. He's clearly got enough money to bring in professionals, and he needs to spend that money appropriately, which means he should already have whoever the third party is that they think that they're going to engage coming by, just so that they can have a note if it happens again, so they can prove that they were being proactive. I don't know that any of that's going to happen until we sign, an executive, an enforcement order, but I think that this really needs to be highlighted, underlined, asterisk, whatever we want to do, as this is the last continuation on this one, at least for me. Next, if it's not done by the next meeting, or if this, God forbid, there's a, torrential downpour, in the meantime, if I don't see something was done in a positive manner to make sure that there wasn't another release, I'm gonna judge that for what it means, and it's not compliance.
Understandable, and I think there's nothing stopping the applicant, if they are looking for names for somebody that they can hire for this, that they could hire him before we issue an EO, right? There's nothing stopping them from doing that anyways, just to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? I think that it would be probably in their best interest to make sure that
Good faith.
there isn't any release between now and January 14th that would tempt the commission to say, never mind, we're just gonna
Well,
revoke the permit, so.
Anything else on Attorney Brodsky? Do you have anything else to add, Attorney Brodsky?
Chair Vendetti, I spoke with Mr. Pinella. We have a short list of names of consultants. I will commit to reaching out to several of those consultants and see if they're willing to work with us. And if I can get them engaged ahead of time, I'll clear it with Mr. Pinella, and we will do so.
and do we have a potential date for a site walk? Has that been dealt with?
I kicked out several dates to the team earlier. I believe they were not next week, because that's the week where I have multiple grant applications due and lots of stuff going on. It was the Monday, Tuesday, the week after, and then the Monday, Tuesday, the week after Christmas.
Okay, Chair Vendetti, I did see that email. I left the office early today, and I had no chance to circulate it, so I will do that when I get to the office tomorrow.
All right, Matt?
Does this preclude anyone just driving to take a peek before we do the official site walk? How did you feel about that, Attorney Brodsky?
It's a
I
public
think
road.
it's a public way that gets you to the general facilities. That's sufficient.
I mean, beyond that, it's a commercial,
No, I understand, but
Property, right? It's not-
we don't want to overstep.
yeah, I mean,
Again, I don't know the state of construction, so you certainly don't want to have people
Right.
walking in a construction zone without, if I might, again, I'm not trying to preclude the commission. I literally went home early because I wasn't feeling well. I just haven't cleared the dates yet.
Okay.
yeah, I don't think, I mean, there's enough language in KWPR and all the permits that we issue that say the commission and its staff can at reasonable hours stop by sites, but
Yeah.
to his point, obviously, you don't want to be jumping out. I think you can see the whole site from your car, essentially.
Well, this is
If you
it.
just pull in,
Right.
loop around, you can see if there's a big concern there and let my office know. But I asked them to share their top 3 dates so that I could run them by the commission and try to have as many commission members available for a site visit as possible. Sure. You might want to sit a little closer to the mic.
Is there
For
a motion to
minutes
continue
purposes.
this to the 14th of January?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks a lot. How about,
Thank you very much, and I just want to thank Mr. Artiano for his service to the Conservation Commission. It's always been a pleasure to work with him.
Yeah, Buzz.
Here, here, yay.
Yay, bye.
Hope you feel better.
Yes,
Feel
do feel
better.
better.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Brodsky? What about 44 Araboth Road?
Okay. Updates in bold for this meeting. The enforcement issues were discussed at many commission meetings throughout 2024 and 2025. Several of the discussed issues have been dealt with by the property owners. Several remain outstanding. The commission required the property owner to take whatever steps would be necessary to determine whether the retaining wall would be permittable by the building department, as this would be a baseline requirement for any potential variance issuance. The required documents were received November 12th. We also received emails, photos, and videos from the abutter to the property, who is present tonight, and I forwarded some information that he had submitted to the commission. We have plans from the engineer. And we did get the letter from the engineer. So, I'm only going to read through sort of outstanding things. I'm not going to rehash everything. There was a dock on the site that I said was there for a long time, if 1971, if not 1960. The dock was replaced and significantly resized between 2019 and 2021. It is now roughly 50 feet long and 13 feet wide. The commission has not discussed this dock's expansion, partially due to the expectation that they would soon release guidance on permitting and enforcement for existing unpermitted docks. The guidance that the commission since then did issue states that docks built, reconstructed, increased in size, or relocated since January 1st, 2015 must obtain a permit from the commission. A 2-year grace period began July 29th, 2025, where the local filing fees would be waived, though the state fees still apply. After July 29th, 2027, the commission may take enforcement action on any unpermitted dock meeting the guidelines stated above. So that is something that technically, I think you don't have to when you're dealing with an enforcement issue. You could just make them do something about it now, but the guidance says that you give people that, probably want to give them that. But I need to actually provide that to them. On that note, our intern started putting together a list of people to send out dock guidance to, so that's good. There was a second smaller dock that was installed. That was the duck dock. That was removed by July 6th of this year. There was the floating dock, and there was the whole July 4th fireworks thing. A citation was issued for the contamination involved with the fireworks, and that was paid. And then by August 3rd of 2025, the property owner removed the floating dock from the property at the commission's request. We had tree clearing and the retaining wall construction and the big concrete parking areas. By November 12th, we received a plot plan and a retaining wall as-built plan by a structural engineer, accompanied by a letter detailing the wall's condition. The engineer indicates that the wall has not likely been built to the block maker's specifications, specifically that some of the blocks had shifted, the wall was leaning towards the lake, and there appeared to be an absence of proper drainage and geogrid reinforcement. The engineer recommends disassembling the wall in order for the manufacturer's recommendations to be followed before reassembly. Importantly, the wall is between 3 and 8 feet tall, according to the engineer, and KWPR does not allow retaining walls holding more than 4 feet of fill to be built within 50 feet of a wetland. In this case, the plot plan shows that the wall is only 29 feet from the edge of Smelt Pond and 14 feet from the edge of bordering land subject to flooding, as indicated by the FEMA Flood Zone A. And there's also a little stretch of BVW at the pond edge, likely as well. It is important to note that the tallest section of this wall appears to hold back a large quantity of earth, also supporting the unpermitted concrete driveway. Regarding the driveway, the property owner said that the driveway and retaining wall work was completed in order to keep runoff from reaching the pond. We now see that there may be runoff going from this area towards the driveway of 46 Rabbith Road and into the BVW to the northwest of the driveway. Regarding impervious coverage, KWPR limits the percentage of a lot within jurisdictional buffers to 15%. We don't have calculations for this property, and they likely benefit from the fact that a significant portion of the concrete driveway is on an abutting property. But I have a rough calculation from the plot plan for their property of 34%. There are multiple sheds in the property within jurisdiction of unknown age, including a log burning stove shed. Commission has not discussed at any length. Commission may discuss if they choose. I discussed how a good portion of the alterations were off of the subject property on land owned by Jennifer DeRico, parcel 828. I had been told they had a friendly relationship and all of that. I did make sure that the DeRicos were aware of all of these issues, so they are aware. As far as recommendations, I said, this is a historically developed site long before state and local wetlands regs, but there's been changes to the site, unpermitted, including changes over recent years. The Commission should require the property to come into compliance, but that's not easily defined in this situation. At a minimum, permitting and retro would be needed for work involving the retaining wall and parking area. I updated that. Statute of limitations for one-time infractions under state and local wetlands law is 2 years, which recurs after each transfer of real estate, which includes action like cutting trees. For actions where materials or conditions remain, such as a retaining wall or concrete placement, each successive day is a new violation, and the 2-year clock resets each day. This would be the case for dumping of fill, paving, construction, placing turf, etc. I had said before, there's minimal opportunities for mitigation due to the size of the parcel. Reclamation of shorefront with native vegetation could help, and in some cases, the Commission has accepted infiltration of downspouts as mitigation, particularly for increases in impervious surface. That all remains true. Any retroactive permit filing may include increasing protective buffers through native plantings. We already discussed the dock. According to photos and videos sent by the abutter, unpermitted jurisdictional work has continued in the form of earthwork and dumping of landscape debris, as well as setting off fireworks from the floating dock. The earthworks are disturbing an area prone to runoff into the wetlands behind 46 Rapids Road. And I wrote that a lot of these issues have been dealt with in past meetings, not all of them. The Commission was waiting for the property owner to determine whether at a minimum they could get a building permit for the wall. The reasoning for that was at times it may be more damaging to wetlands to disassemble something than to leave it in place. Since it's leaning towards the pond and apparently not built correctly, requiring it to be disassembled anyway, the Commission should not consider issuance of any waiver allowing the wall to stay within 50 feet. They may require it be removed with appropriate erosion control and site stabilization, or they may give the applicant time for the wall to be designed in order to align with KWPR, which would likely be a tiered system where each section was shorter than 4 feet. More information may be needed regarding stormwater flow in the concrete area in order to make a decision. Mitigation would be needed to leave it due to the percent impervious coverage, and any potential runoff-related issues should be dealt with. The Commission may want to put this on the property owner by setting a deadline by which to file an NOI for the remaining unpermitted changes. It would be up to them whether to wait on the dock filing given the 2-year grace period. It would likely be cost-effective to include it all in one filing. I did note that it's highly unlikely that the recently expanded dock will be permitted by the Commission. It's 13 feet wide versus the maximum standard of 4 feet in KWPR. I can pull up, if you'd like, just in the staff report, I threw in a leaf-on imagery comparison where October 2016 was on the left, and you can see that there was extensive tree cover, pretty much right up to where the house was, and then July 2023 on the right, you can see that there's been significant clearing and site work and the expansion of the dock.
Can you pull that up?
Certainly, but I'm done with my portion. No discussion while I do this?
May I just ask, I was just waiting. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I just have a follow-up question. The last meeting, we were expecting paperwork from the engineer. We got the paperwork. They got the paperwork. It was kind of short notice before the meeting. It's leaning towards the pond. It needs to be rebuilt, et cetera, et cetera. This is the continuation from then, correct? Like, we continued it so they could kind of gather their own information and we could gather our own information?
Yes.
Okay, that's all. I just wanted to,
Did they not provide us something this morning that I didn't read? Is there something, did you email something on this one?
no?
No, I don't think we've had, had anything on this recently. Let me pull up that.
That was my, have we heard from them since this meeting? Any type of communication from them?
Only related to the last meeting that we didn't hold.
So they knew that one was not held, that,
I
did you tell them they would be there
believe they were
today?
requesting continuance of that meeting, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
And I said, that's up to the commission, but I will tell them. It was like a travel situation with the
Okay.
holidays, and then I let them know that it was being continued anyways.
so they got extra time anyways?
This thing's always in the
by
way.
chance.
So annoying, Zoom. 2016 on the left, 2023 on the right. So just this whole area, trees been cleared. This is the area of the hill that the abutter has sent some information about, including the pictures of the property owner with the excavator scraping that area, which it is obvious what has happened there, and that's a part of the concrete parking area, that all of that was sort of scoured back in order for that stuff to be installed. Then you have the retaining wall out here with a combination of, turf and other vegetation, maybe like a garden or something on top of that. And then here you see the change in the dock. It was made significantly bigger. And there is, like I said, they do have some potential for mitigation there along here. This whole area is all turf, right to the edge of the pond. And some of that obviously predates the wetlands regs, but that gives them opportunity to, they have some area anyways where they could improve site conditions. But in general, it's not good.
Footprint all the same, Matt, on that house? Any additions that went on with that dirt work?
I don't think so. Like I think I said early on when we first started this a long time ago was the only thing I could find in the building department records on this was they did something in the mid-90s, I think, where they didn't call it an addition, and the building department didn't approve it as an addition. It was, or like a second floor addition. It was increasing the wall height on the second floor, which essentially was an addition. There was probably like a crawl space type of situation on the second floor, and they were allowed to increase the wall height, but there was nothing.
Which created living space. That's
It was never anything that was permitted with the commission, probably because it was not an addition, it was increasing the wall height.
Yeah.
But
in that,
Yeah,
probably bedrooms,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
which triggers all the discussions that we have to discuss.
But again, that was, that's 30 years ago, and there hasn't been, that I can tell, any addition on the house, off of the house, anything like that. So mostly seems to be tree removal, site work, impervious surface addition, and the structural issue with the wall.
Did you expect them to be here tonight? Or did you hear anything that they would not be here?
I didn't hear anything that they would not. Like I said, at the I believe the night of the November 26th meeting that we couldn't hold, I got a request for continuance, and I would more than imagine that I followed up after that and said it will be continued to January 14th. I can confirm that right now in my email if you'd like, but I believe I reached out, before I left town hall that night, I reached out to everybody who had an issue here.
So we're continuing this to the 14th as well?
There's nobody online, like, representing them,
I
is there?
don't think that was what was happening, no. No, I don't see anybody. Can I stop this share? Is everybody good with the visual here? No, I don't see anybody for that, and I will check my email just to make sure that I actually did email them, giving them the date. November 26th, to Jenna Carroll. Hi, Jenna. Local scene didn't show up tonight, so we had to cancel the meeting anyway. All business will be pushed to the December 10th meeting. Have a great holiday. And no response since.
And no response to that email?
Right.
No acknowledgement?
I should read what had been sent earlier that day was that the travel plans got a bit delayed. They wouldn't be able to make the November 26th meeting. Our attorney's not available either. At this time, we are planning to speak with a few engineers regarding reworking the wall to bring it back into compliance. I have no ETA on anything yet. Please feel free to call if you have any questions. Thanks and apologies for the late notice. So, again, the commission doesn't have to, obviously, be lenient in that type of situation, right? This has been going on forever, and it should be, the commission should provide clear guidance on what they expect with particularly the wall and the concrete area, all of that stuff together. But that's what we have for communication, nothing beyond that.
Should we hear from the public first?
Do we have any members of the public who would like to comment?
Well, it's discussion, yeah.
If you'd like, you can.
But again, I don't. Yeah.
Do you want me to pull anything up from what you sent? The PDF?
My glasses, Keith. Oh my gosh.
But again, no offense.
Okay, yeah, we can pass them down.
I did eat butter as a kid.
And if you go, just identify yourself for the record at the podium things.
Thank you. Do you mind just passing them down to them? I'm going to work on this. Oh, you can hit them up.
Yeah, I believe so.
I just skipped past your text and went to the first picture, so.
Well, my name is Sean Stangalini.
Yes.
And I am on a butter. I live on 46 Rabbit Road. Well, we built a house. We're still in the process of moving in there. First of all, thank you all for what you do. Nature doesn't have a voice, and I only made 7 copies, and I'm glad that I didn't have enough because that means there's more of you. So thank you for your work. And I also apologize because I have a face for radio. Anyway, all right, so I'm just going to so in terms of format, do you want me to read, how do you, because I actually have a lot of different pieces.
You can assume we've all read what you've already
We have read it.
Okay, so if I just sort of read through the thing, you guys can continue to piece together. Okay, great. So I just sort of thought I'd read about it. They're kind of 2 pieces, and they connect. The first piece is that it's just a practical matter, really. I still have pending orders with conservation that I'd like to close, but I also have some concerns about putting native plantings in because I have concerns about the environment. And so I'll start off with a couple of dead birds.
Yeah.
One was a Canadian geese, which is actually a federally protected species. And the other one was probably a Canadian geese, but I wasn't able to fully recognize it. It was just another big bird. So I began to get concerned, in addition, about the environment. So I'll just start reading off here, and we can, will it be like a discussion kind of thing?
I think if you can go through, just make your points, and then if the commission has questions, they'll ask you questions.
Okay. Maybe rather than reading this, I'll just sort of talk about it. Maybe I can draw a better picture.
Right, because we have read it.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. All right, so I got a couple of mitigation areas that I'd like to finish up, as well as take down a tree that's rotting, in a big oak tree. So at the top, I apologize, I don't have a map.
Give a point of order.
And,
Could you hold on one moment?
absolutely.
Just,
Time out 1 second.
can I think we're going to say the same thing.
All right, go ahead.
We're talking about 44 Rabbit Road tonight. If you want to speak about your parcel, you have to put it on, talk to Matt. We're not commingling the two. This is we're talking about enforcement actions at 44 Rabbit Road, okay? So we don't cross the lanes. That's all we're doing
Okay.
tonight.
May I ask Matt a question, because I just want to make sure that I'm not sure, given that criteria, is like how to go about it. So I guess you want me to talk about my concerns of the environment and that sort of thing?
I think based on, and I think you've all read it too, I think basically what he's going to make for a point is that he has concerns about the effect of what's going on at 44 Rabbit Road with his property in two ways. One would be the environmental thing that he's talking about, and the other one would be stormwater runoff.
All right, but we're not talking about open orders of conditions. We're not, I haven't reviewed your.
Sure.
I was here when we approved it. We're not talking about it.
Okay, no,
Because
so.
I'm not going to speak.
Okay, I think I better understand. In the way that they would be tied in, it's because things are happening upstream. So for me to close those open orders, we probably should address those order upstream, which include that property. Is that better? Is that helpful?
If you're going to keep reaching back to your open orders of
Okay.
conditions.
All right,
You can
just
talk about it all you want when that's the subject we're talking about.
Okay.
Right now, we're sticking to the facts, which is 44 Rabbit.
Okay,
Okay.
I got you. Thank you. All right. So a couple of dead birds.
And these pictures are on 44 Rabbit.
Yes, so actually, if you look at, you see that little flag there, to the right is our property. The mitigation, which is part of the open order, is probably just a few feet off that pole, but there's a dead bird there. And just on the other side of that boat, there was a Canadian goose, like at the water's edge. So it's right there. So if you start going, there's a little bit of a hill upstream, and there's an old dilapidated shed, there's some electrical wires sticking out, there's pipes sticking out, and there's rotted wood and chipped paint. And if you go up a little bit more in towards that property, you'll see there's a wood retaining wall that's leaning forward, and there's some, it looks like it's not in good shape. There's a picture of it in there. And then that begins to tie into those other series of walls and slabs that if it's, I'm not sure if it's a 50-foot or a 100-foot buffer zone, but I'm concerned about them being put there and being put there to change the flow of water. Because you'll see in those photos that I put there, there's a lot of petroleum products left around in the yard. There's been a couple of fires, as you know, one in the right-of-way, the other one on the dock. There's that wood-burning stove or whatever it might be in that metal unit, so there's a lot of opportunity to impact the environment. And with those retaining walls, and the idea that it's changing the hydrology, and now we have evidence of dead animals, so that's raised concern for me. So that's in a nutshell on that one area down the hill. And then over on the other area, there's the carving into the carving into the hill by the right-of-way, and it's really created an incredible exposure of roots. Both a giant tree, when you first roll in, there's a giant tree with a lot of exposed roots, and then right across the right-of-way, inside the buffer zone, there's like a jet ski, an ATV. There has been for a long period of time a gas can. So if that tree, when it falls, because its roots are exposed, it's going to wipe out that area as well as the sheds. And right down the hill is Smelt Pond. If we go just a step on the other side, there's also a dumpster. And I think I put a picture with some diapers hanging around outside.
Yes.
In the water, if you look at the side of the hill, you'll see a lot of plastics and stuff just along down the hill and into the water. Again, you know, there's the evidence of dead birds, so we've seen signs and symptoms here. Moving further along down the right-of-way, there's a lot of, actually, you may see, actually, that picture there, so you can see the Canadian goose, and there's, you know, gas in the, a gas can, you know, in the water. Moving along down the right-of-way, there was a lot of carving, and if you look at, there's some pictures in there of trees that were really degraded underneath, and when they fall, there's an old vehicle right underneath it, there is a boat next door, right next to it, and as well as a utility pole. So actually, there's a utility pole on the other side as well. So you can imagine when they fall, it'll have an impact with the environment for the petroleum products as well as anything electrical, whatever's connected to that utility pole. I think, you know, having the boat fires in the right-of-way, the soot draining down towards my property with, I've seen soot, oil-like mix, you know, running towards, this is like the planned mitigation area.
Yeah, do you mean to say silt? Or is it soot from like?
Soot from the fire, from the boat fire. Yeah, so soot, water, and oil mix. There was a boat fire in the right-of-way. They were working on the boat in the right-of-way. There's just a lot of a concern about the environment. And then for me, you know, I don't want to, you know, like you said, talk about my closing of the mitigation area, or excuse me, of the open order, but I just would like, from your point of view, you know, if you could help, you know, we can take a look at the environment, walk the area, if there's any testing that needs to be done. Actually, I put a couple of thoughts down there of things that we could, I'd be happy to work with you, doing a site walk, guidance on, you know, whatever we could do to help clean up the environment. Like I said, I'd be happy to be a part of it. Any testing that might be warranted. You know, so on my end, I practically just want to clean things up.
Can you just go back to the geese?
Sure.
For a moment. I mean, hunting season, did you see them drinking anything?
So,
And they fell down dead?
Well, so I don't, all I know is I found them dead. It wasn't, it was in the spring.
That's from last spring?
Yes. Okay. And actually, I sent to Matt an email, and initially I thought maybe like bird flu or something like that. But then when I started taking a look around, I started thinking about the previous fire, you know, the firemen were there. I see all, you know, the boat cans exposed, and the soot that runs down, the altered hydrology. Yeah.
On that, it's really hard on that one. I mean, it's entirely possible that those geese could have got into something on that property or in the water in that property and died from it.
Right.
But it's
Oh, for sure.
equally plausible that they had bird
That they
flu,
flew there and
or that they
died.
died elsewhere on the pond and the prevailing wind brought them over there, or they were killed by animals, whether wild or domestic. Or by homeowners, could have gone out there, grabbed them by the neck and whipped them around.
No, it's a hard call to make it
impossible for
really
the commission.
definitive, but it certainly is understandable it would raise concern.
So, in my mind, so what do you do if you have concern? Do we take a step of like assessing the environment to see if there's some sort of pollutants in there? We've had fires, there's gas cans in the area.
Well, I think, again, back to, as Jim said, staying focused on 44, this is exactly what the laundry list is for the enforcement order. I think Matt's really spoken to the issues that you're raising. And by the way, thank you for your thoroughness and the information.
Sure.
Because, again, it really substantiates the concerns that we're addressing.
Yeah. Thank you for doing it, and I know it's a list, and I just want, because I live next door and I have concerns, and I just wanted to have an opportunity to
Sure.
speak.
Matt, just to that point, I believe that we've discussed this. This is all on our list of things that we need to suffer through at some point.
I don't know if we've talked a lot about just general site conditions. So like we just recently tonight on a filing with somebody's garage near a stream, we're, discussing what the substrate of the garage was and is there a way for secondary containment because of proximity to the stream. And in this case, there's no care for where anything is stored at all. So that is concerning, that if you don't store a gas can in the correct location and it gets knocked over, that
Right.
it all, or if you're refueling, right? I don't know if you're, and I know when you're refueling, I don't know, an outboard motor or something, in a lot of cases, you probably
lawnmower.
do bring that, especially if you have a little tank in the boat, you just go and fill it in on there. I get it, but there should be the utmost care in making sure that there's no potential for spilling, and if you're just kind of storing things around randomly, then.
The pictures show
The-
a lack of care
Yes.
and a continuing lack of interest in protecting that property.
Yeah, and I think that
It's very serious.
goes to the opposite of what we've heard from the property owner, who has said that he cares a lot about the pond and never wants to do anything
He
bad to
actually
the
told us
pond,
he's
but-
been a steward of the pond
Right.
and his family for years.
I don't
So
think
I
so.
put a little faith, but, yeah.
So that sounds like as we get closer to issuing the enforcement order, that's going to compel whatever action we decide, that we just need to keep this in our thought about the general condition of the waterfront area and the cleanliness and the stored, I don't know that we have regulations, I don't believe we do, about storage, especially when you have sheds and boat launches. That's something that the town has never brought into consideration, but I bet you the EPA has. And the state EPA might have some rules that need to be followed for that stuff.
True.
So if we piggyback some of that into our forward path, it might achieve what the intent is. Because I'll be honest with you, our regulations are very good at some things, and then,
Right.
and we don't go outside that. This is
Because
a job
what it
we
is
do.
basically is if we can prove that you spilled gas
We can compel you to
into a
clean it up.
wetland or that it ran off in a wetland, we can take enforcement action on you, but we can't take enforcement action on you for leaving
If you're a slob.
a gas
Being a
can
slob.
out without a cover on it, right up gradient from a wetland area. So I get that, and I think that your point of an EO compelling proper storage with the hint that, if this is not followed, we will be notifying DEP and EPA of this. And I don't know if those types of things meet their criteria. Most of them, they're
There's
interested
gonna be
in
somebody with
major spills and things like
water
that. It may not
protection.
reach their, anybody who cares enough to do anything about it, but it may just, all in all, be enough to compel, okay, I actually need to do this.
There is a state code, state regulation, as well as fire codes.
Mm.
Dot, is that specific to cans, like gas cans?
Inflammable.
It's for storing petroleum products.
Yeah,
It doesn't say what they're in, but I'm sure the rule does.
but I don't think we have the ability to provide an enforcement action on that, more than come into compliance with local codes and regulations, and then the policing of that falls on somebody else, I think. I think we can identify it and bring it to light and compel some kind of corrective action, but
Sure.
I think we're outside of our jurisdiction.
That's probably.
Could I add a safety concern?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, I mentioned there's a rotted oak tree, it's a giant big tree. And it's like right near their property and our property. And if it falls, or perhaps when it falls, because it's rotting, right? It's gonna hit like in the buffer zone and create damage. There's a shed, so, you know, it's fall time, there's the leaves on the ground, there's a shed, there's exposed wires from that shed. There could be an arc and a fire causing damage, right? And, you know, wires, that looks like some kind of pipe, that's a little.
You have to stay at the microphone if you're going to talk.
Sure. Wires, pipe, electrical box, rotting shed. The tree is roughly right here, so if it falls this way, it could cause an arc and a fire.
If I could-
just saw, you know, like the dead birds. Is this technically inside the, is it a 50?
If I could just,
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
yeah.
Hazard trees, there's a procedure in town. So you call the tree warden if it needs to come down and it's within the jurisdiction area. You contact Matt, he does an admin review, and he does, you get Matt and the warden, they go out and they say, yeah, this is a hazard tree, you can take it down. Then you can take it down. If it's your tree, it's your tree. If it's their tree, you can write them a letter.
Yeah.
And you could, as a concerned neighboring thing, that maybe that's your shed and you're worried about it coming down, you can write it. If he doesn't do anything, we can't compel somebody to take down a tree.
Okay, so this is a great point, and I'm glad you brought this up, because now we're talking access, because I can't get in there. I can't go down the right side of my house because there's water erosion, right, from what's coming upstream. Down to the left, I can't get a piece
But
of.
you don't need access to, you've already confirmed, that, or you've already judged that there's a hazard tree condition.
But I don't have access to cut it down. And so there's a right of.
Is it your tree?
It's my tree.
Okay.
Yeah, so the walls block the access that I could cut that tree down. So if we don't address the tree.
Hang on.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The admin review will bring you through that process.
So contact Matt on the tree?
This is 44 Rabbit we're talking about. If
Right.
that's your tree,
Yes.
call Matt,
I can.
take care of the admin.
You're talking about the fact that you have an easement across their property that crosses
So-
where their walls and everything. Let me finish.
Yeah,
Where
go
it
ahead.
crosses their walls and everything like that,
Yes.
and you're saying that the only way you could get that tree down is to have
Safely.
a company come and drive across that easement to remove the tree.
Yes. So those walls, which are deviating water, are changing the hydrology. They're moving down towards the shed and as well as towards my septic, right? So it's putting a lot of extra drainage, you know, into my septic in that way because there's the altered hydrology just above that from the walls.
It's, just, sorry to interrupt, I think on this particular issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that is a neighborly property owner, that's a legal issue.
But
If
there's
he
also,
created
you
a
can't,
gift-
no, wait a
Whether or
minute.
not you can cut the tree down that's in jurisdiction is a wetlands permitting issue that would have to be filed separately, that could be filed as an admin review, right? Unless the tree was already slated to be cut down on the OOCs.
It was.
But the
And
displacement of
whether or
water is
not-
also an
No,
issue.
but whether or not he can get a truck across an easement on their property is not a wetlands protection issue. The commission is reviewing wetlands enforcement issues for unpermitted work on 44 Rabbit Road.
Right.
How those issues affect his property is not a wetlands enforcement issue. That is a property rights issue, and that
That's
is a legal issue
right.
between those
Right.
two. Now, the commission, in my opinion, should take into account the fact that this paved area that they put there may be causing runoff onto his property. However, we can't prove that.
Is it is it in our jurisdiction first and foremost?
Yes.
Okay, so if, and
You're
it's
already going to be
unpermitted,
dealing with
correct?
that with them, so you would want to look at the fact or the idea that that may be causing runoff onto a neighboring property, especially because that is likely bringing that into a wetland. What you can't do is prove that that's actually the case, or that they've actually diverted anything there. You would put that on the property owner. You wouldn't ignore that and put a situation where now they have to sue their neighbor for stuff that you're ignoring as an unpermitted activity. But I see that as being different than, well, I can't drive a truck across here to remove this tree because there's something in the way that wasn't permitted. You're gonna deal with the permitting issue on its own for its merits, and you're gonna make the decisions that you make. If you make a decision that you're gonna allow something to stay there through either permitting in retro or because you don't think that it's something you should take enforcement action on, that's your decision, right? And at that point, an abutter has the legal right to take action against that property owner for that situation. Or they could try to sue the Conservation Commission for it if they wanted to. I just don't think we're having success
Some of
with
this
that.
is more in planning than it is in conservation. Some of these questions, I mean, runoff, if they change the pitch of the grade and now you're pushing water to your neighbor, pretty sure there's planning board rules that somebody broke at that point, and they're the ones who can come in.
Sometimes, yes, that falls under
What I'm saying
zoning.
is we don't have anything that points to us
Right.
being able to say anything, except for the fact that's non-permitted work within the jurisdiction, and we get to say something about it at
Right.
some point.
And the fact in that situation where there is a wetland on his property that's downslope from this, and so there may be a runoff related issue.
They may be creating a
Right.
impact to the wetland.
Right. The rest of it, I don't think it's a conversation that we want to have right now with
So what are we
the
gonna do
access
about
on the easement to the wall.
So let's get back to the
refocus
laundry
on it.
list that we need to deal with.
Yes. How do you want to do it? What do you got? Who wants to go home tonight?
I motion that Matt comes up with a laundry list of things that we've discussed and summarize it, and then we move off of that, and then we create an action plan to try to clear this logjam. Because the more pictures we see of this site, I think the worse it becomes.
Do you want me to try to prep an enforcement order for you to vote on
Yeah,
and sign at the January 4th meeting?
That'd be
And
good.
meanwhile, I will email them again and say, hey, you weren't there, but here's
Right.
what the commission is having me do.
Yeah.
You should be
Yeah.
there on January 4th.
Here's what you'll be looking
And
at.
it-
Really specific enforcement orders for each one of the issues.
And I think there is some things that we have to talk about here. Namely, the thing that we talked about first was that wall that they built that is not built to spec, was not built with the permit, and we decided that we were gonna just wait to see if it was a perfect wall, maybe we could permit it in retro. But if it
It's
wasn't,
not.
like in this case where he's saying it has to be taken down and partially rebuilt, then it becomes all right, well, now I want an NOI to do the work because I want to approve it, and in part of that process, I'm not diminishing our 30 or 50-foot setbacks, whatever is applicable to any of this stuff, so it becomes in that case, I want NOI
Yep.
on it, so I don't know if everybody agrees on that aspect, and then we can come up with some of the other language on recommendations, but I think we set out to achieve an intent with the wall so that we could understand how bad this was gonna be. I think we have all the
Now we have
answers.
to go on it.
You
Right.
want to address the increase in impermeable
I think you have to.
surfaces? It's-
absolutely.
You have to
it's
include the
significant.
concrete with the wall because the wall is holding the concrete and it's a massive increase in
Yeah.
impervious
I think we need
surface.
to give Matt a little bit more direction rather than just go right to
Yeah.
enforcement orders. So building off what you're saying, I think the wall needs to come down, and I think that needs to be an NOI or enforcement order, whatever the best way to do it. That's what I would like to see us vote on next time we meet. I don't know if other people are in agreement with me, or do we need to have that debate right now? Is that the direction we want to go?
Let me throw one thing back at that just for conversation. So one of the things that I brought up was you would either make them file an NOI to remove it or file an NOI to bring it into compliance with KWPR, right? If they had the possibility to tier that so that
The
no
latter.
particular section of it was holding back more than 4 feet of fill, they might be able to minimize the disturbance of the property as opposed to completely removing it, and then what are they gonna put there?
Okay.
How are they gonna stabilize that site is my
That's
question.
be
If
my
they're gonna
question.
completely remove it, how do you stabilize it?
Let me just go
Trunk
here.
growth.
There's images of settlement which indicates that this could not just be, oh, they didn't put a, dead man back or stone behind it. This could be improper compaction of the footer, which means it's going, whatever happens, It's going to move until it's properly compacted and they could build it 3 times and it could still go. I don't know that, but I'm also saying that I'm not comfortable with where it was or permitted in retro if it's not built properly in the first place. I was willing to entertain the idea of it staying where it is just because it would be worse impact to move it, just to move it.
Yeah.
But in this case, where the wall's deficient, the engineer stated such, I'm not okay with the location of it now, and it's gonna have to move into something that's permittable, because we wouldn't, if this gentleman wanted to put a wall in, we'd hold him to the standard of whatever is defined by the town.
I guess technically, we gave a variance on a 4-foot wall holding back fill on 46 Rabbit Road overseas, but.
With mitigation, but this is
Right.
different, because now it needs to be torn down, and it's not just if we cut down a couple of feet, the wall's still built wrong.
No, that's not, you misunderstood that part of it, I think. I'm not talking about not removing it, I'm saying they're gonna have to file an NOI. The NOI is either going to remove the wall and attempt to stabilize the site somehow, or redesign it and rebuild it so that it meets the standards, which would require.
Which we can vote on at that
tiering
point.
and all that.
Right.
That's all I'm kind of saying, is like,
Yeah.
should I be writing something that says you're gonna file an NOI by this date and it's gonna do A or B?
Well, from my perspective, the NOI that we should be compelling in this enforcement action should be to remove the wall and stabilize. And if they want to build a structure later on, they can come back with it. If they want to combine the two, go
Right,
ahead.
that's.
You mean
yeah,
stabilize with something
stabil-
other than the wall, a new wall? Stabilize with some-
Stabilize with our.
with plant growth, with,
Not structures.
because the original visit that the homeowner made said that they needed to build that wall to prevent erosion, but looking at the aerial photographs, that's only necessary because they cut down all the trees.
Right.
So I'm inclined to say remove the wall and replace it with plant growth or
Yeah, naturalize the site and
naturalize the site, rather than rebuild the wall.
And if they want, anybody can come in with the NOI at any point. And if after they do what we ask them to do, they want to come in, or even if they want to ask us
Right,
to
I hear what you're
consider it
saying. Yep.
in conjunction with the NOI to remove it, but we don't have to grant anything that we don't feel comfortable with based on the language in front of us. And the language is 50 feet, right?
Since
Is that what it
the
is?
concrete is partly on a neighbor's property, and the trees that have been
I don't think it is. I
undermined-
think it's a right of way.
Not partly.
It's about half.
It's a lot. I've been there a couple of years ago, whenever that was.
It is on the neighbor's property.
100%.
And as I understood it, he gave permission for that. Is he responsible for that too?
Could be.
He, she, or it?
That's why I wanted to make sure that they were at least aware of this, to be
The
able to
only,
follow.
the
aware.
only good news is the concrete actually pitches away from the pond, not towards the pond. So any water that lands on it goes towards the woods. That's the only. good
Right,
news.
except for that, as you go down to the driveway to the
I
neighbor's
understand. I'm
house, it all
saying
goes down to
the
the wetlands.
majority of it
Cut out
pitches
the
away
side
from the
of all
pond.
exposed roots.
Right.
It's the only good news.
So what
Um,
action
What
item?
Other than
else?
that-
What else?
But
are
aren't we're talking about ripping it out. How is that good news, Buzz?
Well, I mean, currently,
Yeah.
the current situation.
I get it.
So.
What else are we putting on this? What else
To
are we
remove the driveway.
discussing?
Are you
The
talking about also
concrete
removing the
pad.
concrete
The
pad?
concrete pad for sure, yeah.
So you have two now that you're working on. One is the wall, remove the wall, and the second one is remove the concrete pad.
I
think
would
we should deal
also
with the
add,
dock
clean up
as well.
the
Yeah.
trash
The dock.
along the slope.
I think
I think the
the
dock
dock
can be
should,
dealt with.
personally, I think the dock should be their decision based on the commission's guidance, right? You gave everybody else a 2-year grace
Yep.
period.
Move it or make it smaller?
I think it would be in their best interest if they want to permit the dock to throw it in with an NOI filing they're already doing,
okay.
because it costs a lot of money
You
to
can
get
mention
To do another
a
NOI.
survey and the engineering and everything to put those plans together for
And how
that.
about that wood burning thing
Yeah.
that's so close to the pond?
What is the purpose
Was
of
that
one
new?
of those?
I believe those heat your home.
Yeah, it's a hydronic heating system. They just use an outside furnace, outside boiler to heat water that goes
Well, in any
Goes
case,
under
it
the
do
ground.
we
in
have-
the ground.
So they
It
would
should
have
be
had,
lot
further
of
away from
efficiency
the
Is
in
that
pond.
ever
how it's-
permitted? Is that, can we find, can you look into
No
that?
idea.
If that wasn't
Nothing,
permitted, that
nothing on
should
the
have
property
been.
was permitted from us.
Can
Let me
you-
put it that way.
That
you
that
put
should
that
have a
in?
building permit.
Right.
Right, and I
would
know
think
in the
so, yeah.
past.
Fire
No, it's
department-
required to
Fire
have a
department
building
probably has to review
Marilyn?
those
Probably
too.
too.
I know in the past with another town resident who tried to establish a heating system like that, it was disallowed.
There are very specific rules, that's why I'm saying there's a building permit and there's a process for that.
Okay.
And if it's not,
And it had to be removed.
Right, I don't wanna have, you know, if
Yeah.
it's heating their home, then.
but Matt, we should definitely take care of that as
Yeah.
part of this as well.
And Dot, did you have a comment?
Yeah, the water that's running onto the neighbor's property should be addressed as well.
Well, didn't we address that with the concrete? Or
Not
was that a
necessarily.
different
Well,
slab?
I mean, removing the concrete is one thing, but then if everything is still pitched that way, then
Right.
all you're doing
Well,
at
the
that
natural
point is.
topography might be that it pushes that way, except it's worse because there's concrete involved.
But then you
They
remove
have to
the
mitigate
concrete
the
and now you
runoff.
have sediment that can, or sand
Oh,
or
I know.
whatever that can move.
Stabilize that as well.
Yeah, they have to stabilize and mitigate the runoff
Yeah.
as
The
a
site
result of
has to be
removing the-
stabilized. Whatever corrective actions there are, everything has to be, there needs to be erosion control, that it needs to be stabilized.
Yep.
So there's plenty of impervious stuff that can be done in that case, but needs to be on an NOI, we need plans, we need all that stuff.
Do an
It needs to
NOI
be
with
right.
permeable pavement there, and that would probably.
All
Can
things
you
that they
make,
can do, but it's up to.
No, I'm just saying, that would be an option for
them
them on,
Right.
on NOI.
We make a note about trash, if there's trash outside dumpsters, that's not to, obviously not to be allowed.
Storage of.
And we've already asked them to clean up that slope multiple times, and they said they have. That slope behind the dumpster between the house and the pond, that was supposed to be cleaned of all yard debris, trash, already, months ago.
Yeah, and I believe they sent photos that.
Right,
they
but
had.
if these photos are
Large-
correct, then
largely.
obviously
I don't know
back.
how recent these photos are.
Well, and also you don't know how long that was like that for, right? If they
It shouldn't
left-
be like that at all.
But
I
in
know,
our
but if it-
enforcement action, we should memorialize the
Right.
fact that there needs to be no potential sources
Biohazards.
of contamination to the resource areas, because that's really what we're worried about, is contamination to the resource
Right.
areas. So make sure that they're maintaining the buffer zones in a manner that will not contribute to, future contaminations into the resource areas. It's broad enough that it should be enforceable if we see a gas can stored next to the lake, right?
Or
So
in a boat on
no
the-
fuel or petroleum or chemical storage without secondary
I mean,
contaminant.
we don't want pesticides, we don't want any of that stuff.
Gas on a boat in a pond.
Any of it that could accidentally get run over, squished by a tire, any of that.
I do think these all need to be separate orders, though.
No, just all spelled out. Basically, you just
Mhm.
say, by this date, you have to do X, Y, Z, or I should have said like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X.
By when?
All-
Well, we're gonna
all
sign
of
this
it.
next.
Yeah, and I
Well,
mean,
okay, we're
you
signing,
can-
okay.
and you have, basically I can
We can
prepare
do-
this and you can modify it as you see fit at the next meeting. I'll try to get this
Can we,
done far in advance and put it up
You
for
wanna do a
commission to
draft.
review in advance of the meeting so that you can really digest it and then
Okay.
provide comments at the
Yep.
meeting that we could take notes on.
right. And we can go back and forth directly with you if you send it BCC.
Yeah, if you're not communicating with the
But
other
then it's
commissioners,
just us
you
and
can-
us going back and forth,
Right.
and we're not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
out of.
Yeah, and then, that, stuff like that can help the commission actually make a decision that night, that you can sign the document, rather than, we could have a signature page that you sign, that we still have to change a couple of the words based on what you bring up at the meeting, but it's a little less clean that way.
Did anybody else have anything on that?
I
We
think-
wanted to bring the Matt's attention?
Other sheds, things like that, I mean, I don't know how you want to go about some of this stuff, because while there are no permits on a lot of the stuff on the property, I don't know, based on the tree cover, how long some of the stuff has been there. Again, there's no real grandfathering, but
Right, if it's not
Still-
supposed to be there, then it shouldn't be there.
All right, do you want to add the sheds to your list? Ask if the sheds are ever
Yeah, if
permitted
there's
then?
anything,
I mean, one of them looks like it's hardly
I
ever
think the
used.
more we can put in there, the better.
The better.
At
But
this
it-
point, we've been at this for a long time.
To that point, right, if they put it on the NOI, we could approve the
Right.
shed
We
in
could.
in an area where
They
it
have-
isn't. But
right.
it needs to be part of that discussion.
It
needs
does.
to, but remember what Buzz used to always say, I want it on the plan, because then I can tell you when
Yeah.
something else isn't there.
Right.
And if we don't get that plan like that, then we're not doing anything.
Yep.
It's very reminiscent of some of the previous filings we've had with individuals that have had scattered violations throughout their
Right.
property. Get them to put the entire property on a file, submit the entire thing, then you know what you have, and then you can make an enforcement, you can get it done, and then you get an as-built, And then at least you have a snapshot of a moment in time, so that when the next 7 people are sitting here 5 years from now, and they can pull up the file and say, gee, that motorhome wasn't here, that boat wasn't there, that driveway wasn't there, the addition you built on top of your house wasn't there, the windmill, the extended dock, the slide, and whatever else happens.
And we do use that stuff all the time in the
Yeah.
conservation department.
All right.
Just one more thing, just because this is really gonna bug me. I would like you to maybe send me some of the details about when that expansion, the second floor addition, went on. Because likely there was 2 bedrooms, and then it became 4 bedrooms, which would have targeted septic improvements. It's an impacted area. We might want to talk about that. It's up to the commission, but we might want, so I'd like the details. Because a cesspool at this area with unpermitted expansion is an issue that we should be paying attention to when it comes up, so. There's a lot of cesspools out there in these locations
Yep.
that are creating problems or contributing to the problems that we are solving through expensive measures. And when something comes up like this, we should pay attention and try to take care of it, instead of glassing over.
Will you remind me of that? Because I thought that stuff was already in the OneDrive, but it might not be. I'll make sure it's on there. I know that was on, like, we discussed the dates and everything on the first staff report. All right.
Minutes?
That was fun.
No, we're
So
not.
do you want to
Sorry.
continue this, or?
Motion to continue. I think he did it, while we were discussing, he did ask if he could make another call.
Yep.
I think you probably, thank you. I think you probably, I just wanted to make sure, is testing easily done just because of the birds? Is it easy to do? I don't know, but it
What
seems
kind
like
of
the test
testing are you asking about?
to see if the environment is toxic, and if it comes back toxic, what is it? And looking at the environment to see, what might be the cause.
It is done, but I don't know who does it. Are the birds still there?
No, this was
They were
in
there
April.
last spring.
But I meant of the soil. Because if I don't know what a testing kit like that would look like, but if it tests positive for some kind of petroleum products.
No, those Chapter 21 studies are very expensive, and you can't just go around compelling somebody because we saw a dead bird.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
it's- If we had a reason to suspect that he was dumping Agent Orange in his backyard, pretty sure we could do that with the EPA's help.
The
But
fires-
we don't have any, there's fires every day, and it doesn't trigger.
2
that.
fires in
My
1 year on the same
expectation is that
property.
if that was a persistent contamination issue to the tune that if we tested, it would show up as a threshold meeting issue, you would have more dead birds and more dead animals,
Oh,
dead
yeah.
fish.
There would be a
since
chronic display of dead, anything that was drinking that water, that walking through, that you'd see them all over the place. It's how that works.
I would say to the abutter that if stuff like that continues, certainly share it. And if there's a long-term pattern of things dying there, then I think that
Okay.
would be something the commission would want to
Be apprised
mandate some
of.
water testing, or even just go do water testing on our own. But I think for 2 birds, that's probably not warranted.
Thank you for your thoughtfulness, because you all put some good amount of time into it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
very
coming
much.
forward.
Thank you for bringing it to us.
All right, now did we read about?
Did you continue it yet?
Oh,
No.
continue it. Okay.
Yeah,
we're gonna
motion to
it
continue.
January 14th.
So I'll make a motion to continue to January the
Second.
14th.
Okay, I have a motion to continue it till January 14th, and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll be right back
Any
while you do
opposed?
this.
We can do minutes without you? Yay.
Beat the split.
He's like, I'm done.
Congratulations, you're promoted.
Didn't take long.
You've been
All right,
voluntold.
make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have edits.
Oh,
Yep.
all right, go for it.
Does Matt need to hear the edits, or is that you?
Okay. So, we'll just do them individually. How about that? August 27th, 164 Pembroke Street. The vote was made by Jim and then also seconded by Jim, which probably is not correct.
Okay, which property again? Sorry.
164 Pembroke Street. And then.
Were you the second on that one?
I don't know.
Were you there?
Sometimes the
I made
second is
that
very
motion, I remember
challenging
that.
to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah.
Megan was there. She's on the roll.
Yeah, I was there, but I don't remember. It was just in the minutes. It said, made by Jim, seconded by Jim, so.
Just make Megan the second.
Right, you can choose, however. And then,
Do we know who seconded it, or?
probably,
I'll,
no.
I'll try to look at the video again and make my best guess.
And then, September 24th, we were talking about Rabbit Road, and it listed Mr. Dorico as the owner of Rabbit Road, but I believe his name is Tom Carroll as the owner of Rabbit Road. Like, super silly edit, but I just happened to catch it. All right.
For which the,
September 24th, it was page 6, and it says, it was listed as Mr. Dorico, the owner of 44 Rabbit, but I'm pretty sure his name is Tom Carroll. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Doricos own the land that abuts the concrete pad, not 44 Rabbit. That's it.
And there's one where I was absent, but I watched it on TV, so I can vote on it.
Just remember following the
May
point.
27th. So then I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for, May, can we do these all if nobody was here?
I was not here on.
All right, so I'll do it by one.
September 20th.
Buzz wasn't at two of them.
You want to start with May 28th,
All
probably.
right, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 28th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
And then, I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 27th, 2025,
With corrections?
with edits.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 10th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention, motion passes.
And then I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of September 24th, 2025, with edits.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Updates. We got our annual notification of Eversource's right-of-way vegetative maintenance is on file. If anybody has questions from the commission or the public, just reach out. Bates Pond update. We got kind of a late start on finding out that, you know, we actually had everything in place for our CPC funds we received this year for the Bates Pond Trail. So I said earlier we did not get the recreational trails grant from the state, but we did get CPC funding, and we already had Sampson funds, and they combined together to be enough for us to do the design and permitting of that.
Good for you.
So we did get Strong Tree Engineering going on that, and they have now started. So we hope that will go pretty quickly, and we'll be able to apply for more grants, and then we'll pester Buzz for some lumber donations. And,
Oh, that's nice of you, Bud.
yeah. And that's it, other than Buzz. This is Buzz's last meeting, and I just want to say thanks.
Thank you, Buzz.
Thank you, I appreciate that. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you all. And who knows, maybe I'll come back for part 3 sometime.
We'll pull you right back in.
Sit in the back row, put it in the video.
I'd like to make my announcement too.
Theoretically, if I can get back in, you know, this is tough. It's a
It's
high
tough
bar to
getting
get
in.
in.
It's usually a full board.
It's very tough getting in.
There's a 3-strike policy, too.
Once you get out twice, you're out.
You gotta get branded next time.
Well, once you
Yeah,
come
and
back.
also,
to the big
January
time,
17th, 2026, at the Radisson, I'm holding a fundraiser event for Shane Gives Thanks, which is a local food pantry in Carver. I will be sending you all an invite. It's $50 a ticket. However, all the money goes to Shane Gives Thanks. I'm paying for the party. So minus credit card fees, all the money goes to Shane Gives Thanks. So
Hope to see you there. We're gonna have obviously, most of you have never been to one of my parties, but they're pretty wild. We're gonna have a huge, awesome DJ and photo booth and special guests and silent auction and all kinds of wild stuff, so.
Where's the Radisson?
Right in downtown Plymouth, right there on the waterfront.
Hotel 1620?
Huh?
Is it the old 1620?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they have a big, huge ballroom there, so it includes, the $50 includes the dancing, you get 2 drink tickets, full buffet. It's a good time, so hope to see you there. And we're raising money for a good cause, so. And then additionally, in 2026, will be coming out shortly, we'll be, the goal is to give away an ADU to a veteran in 2026.
Nice.
So the website will be honoradu.com. It's not out, it's not live yet. We're still working on the contest rules. We will be working with Disabled American Veterans Association. They will be the, I don't know, board, if you will, that will pick the finalists. And then the goal is on November 7th, when they have their 5K event, we're gonna have 10 to 15 finalists in a bucket, and they're gonna pull one, and that'll be the winner. The first year, I am limiting it to just, it has to be built in Plymouth, Mass, because honestly, the permitting is so friendly there, and you can actually be assured that you can actually build something, so. After that, you know, who knows, but, so I'll be sending you that invite too. There'll be lots of promotion around that, and fundraisers, and parties, and fun stuff, so.
You know, you already took over my newsfeed, so.
You're in my reels.
You're all over my For You page. I'm like, come on, just build, baby. That's awesome.
Trademark.
You own
But thanks again, and I've enjoyed working with everybody here, and I know sometimes I got a little spirited, but it's only because I care about what we're doing.
You're just awesome. You're just awesome. Also.
But I am confident that I am leaving it in good hands.
Yeah, well, starting next meeting, the chair will be Jim.
No.
Nobody voted on that yet.
Voluntold.
We need to, well, okay, well, Jim or someone else who you vote in to be the chair, but I'm resigning as chair.
Well, we'll clap for you and the good job you did next week.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
All right, so we officially adjourning.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just pick somebody. I think they all said it.
Everyone seconded.
Just like that.
I know.
Paused.